Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday midday edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
There you go. There you go. Just in time. Look at that.
Just in time.
Right in under the wire. So, thanks everybody very much for being here today. Pleasure to see you all. We are now past hump day on our marathon week. Russ was hosting the Jimmy Dore show last night. Great show last night.
Thank
with
you.
Two great guests, Professor Zankus and Nick Cruz.
Those were two really interesting conversations. And for obvious reasons, since I got back from Asia, Nick Cruz has literally been the person I've most wanted to talk to. I was very curious about what his take was on some of what I experienced and some of what I saw. So they'll be dropping the clips. Definitely check out that interview. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And Professor Zankus, I walked by Columbia the other day because I went to get new glasses right near there. And it's depressing, man. Like, they crushed the life out of that campus. So to be able to talk to somebody who actually has an insider view on what the impact of that has been, both really interesting conversations.
There you go. There you go. Well, yeah, that was a great show. And then tomorrow, I got Caleb Maupin coming on, and maybe adding a second guest. Not sure. And then Kurt will be there, of course. So that's going to be, I think, 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. They do early shows now on Fridays. So that's what you got to look forward to tomorrow. After the show today, we will be redirecting our YouTube viewers to a premiere on Russ on the Road channel. Here that is. Where is it? Is it going? Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not going because I didn't do this. There you go. Now it'll go.
All right. So this is okay. When I was a lad, I definitely saw the Rocky Horror movie over 100 times. So I have never actually seen it performed live. The last time they did a revival was 2000. I thought it looked terrible, although interestingly, it was with Dick Cavett and Joan Jett was in it. But it just looked like they did it goth. It just didn't, it looked bad from what I saw. So I didn't go see it. I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've done it on Broadway since then. So the first time in 26 years. And it was a good time, but this video is part review and it's part analysis of Rocky Horror, which I have long believed has a lot of very interesting layers. There are a lot of dark elements to it that don't fit its image as this campy musical like it is that. But there's a lot more going on. And I think that's why it's been so enduring, because there's a lot more weight behind it thematically than you might expect from like that photo. So I went on a pretty long monologue analysis. I cut in some video from Rocky Horror, the film, and Richard O'Brien's other work, Shock Treatment. So yeah, it's both review and analysis.
There you go. So that'll premiere at 3:30. And you'll be redirected there at the end of this stream if you're watching over on YouTube. We got 644 here in the YouTube chat to start things off, 246 over on Rumble. Please do smash that like button. Please do smash that subscribe button if you're so inclined over on YouTube, and that follow button over on Rumble. All right, we're going to get right into things. Got a lot of stuff to get to today. The plot thickens. The plot thickens in the continuing saga of Graham Platner. So let's take a look at what we got here. So Mika Brzezinski interviewed Adam Wren, who is the writer for Politico, and pressed him a little bit on just which details they were able to corroborate for their story and which they were not. So let's take a look at some video here.
What are some of those corroborating pieces of evidence? So you've got conversations with her therapist and people who she confided in. Any conversations with Graham Platner at the time of it where she said, because apparently as part of this story, she says she even confirmed to him that this was not consent. Do you have that? What do you have that actually connects this literally? Graham Platner to raping this victim?
Yeah, she reached out to him the day after via Instagram, and essentially, told him that she didn't want to hear from him again. She told him that morning as well, and we looked at messages that she had sent to others in the months after this happened through social media.
But you were able to see those DMs?
She tried to recover those DMs. We did not. We were not able to review those DMs, but she described them to us. We also, long before he was a political candidate, we saw her essentially explain to others that he was, quote, in her words, consensually careless, end quote. And
right, but
those were in the Politico piece, but she's asking you about the DMs that were cited in the Politico piece that I think 99.9% of readers assumed you actually saw and verified, and now you're saying, well, no, we didn't actually see them. She recalled them to us.
To see the interactions between Graham Platner and this alleged victim, did you actually physically see them? Did she produce them for you?
She attempted to uncover them. She
that's the answer
but was unable to.
Right. So no would be the answer you're looking for there.
Willie?
So let's talk a little bit, Adam, about some of the timing of this. Some people pointed out it's a week out from the date that Democrats now have to scramble and potentially find a new candidate if Platner does indeed drop out as he's expected to. We'll talk more about his support in the Democratic Party nationally at the state level has collapsed after these revelations. She was, Jenny, in that New York Times piece. She appeared in the piece a few weeks ago. So what's your sense of why she decided she wanted to go into more detail with you at this point?
Yeah, Willie, she was frustrated with how that article landed. She told us she was frustrated with another woman that she knows who was quoted in that piece, how her story was received. She felt there was a lot of negative polarization around that anecdote, that she was written off just because she was a Republican. And, she wanted Maine voters to have sort of the full story here. And, she sort of relayed all of this to us.
Okay, so she was not satisfied with the lack of political impact of the first drop, and that's what motivated her to come forward with more details about this story, even though you don't have the actual DMs that you cited in the piece. It certainly made it sound like, to the average reader, certainly fooled me there. Sounded to me like you saw the DMs. That's kind of how you wrote it. Not the case. Oh boy. What do we have here? Well, it gets a little worse than that. So we're going a little out of order chronologically for the interview, just the way we structured the segment here. But here's Mika Brzezinski presses Politico reporter Adam Wren on what evidence pushed the outlet to publish these allegations against Graham Platner. What made the story more than a he said, she said case. Let's take a listen.
And Adam, I want to get right to the questions about this, the questions surrounding this on both sides of this debate. There's not a police report, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. And there's not a legal case playing out here for due process to see itself through. So my question to you, given the very high standards Politico has before they write something like this and publish it, what aspects of this story brought it to the level of publishable?
Yeah, you're correct here, Mika. There is no police report in this case. We spent a lot of time talking to Jenny, asking her for corroborating evidence. She shared that she had confided into a number of people, including her therapist, in almost real time. And we reviewed email exchanges between she and her therapist, referring to what she called this sexual assault. And her.
Okay, so he says that there were emails with the therapist in almost real time, is what he says.
Yeah, you're correct here, Mika. There is no police report in this case. We spent a lot of time talking to Jenny, asking her for corroborating evidence. She shared that she had confided into a number of people, including her therapist, in almost real time. And we reviewed email exchanges between she and her therapist, referring to what she called this sexual assault, and her therapist sort of acknowledging that this had happened to her.
Okay, so for the way he's phrasing it there is just the way he phrases it in the article, which is he makes it sound like they saw documented exchanges between her and the therapist at or around the time of the alleged incident, which would have predated his candidacy for the Senate. So that looks and sounds kind of credible in the article, and he's certainly presenting it that way there. However, there's some complicating details that now come to light. So here is Sagar and Jetty with Ryan Grimm. Confirmation that the email to the therapist that Politico used to justify publishing Racicote's allegations against Platner didn't exist prior to June 2026. That would have been last month.
Details where I was like, wow, this is devastating, is you told me the therapist verified her comments. And that didn't happen.
Right.
That wasn't in the story.
Right.
That's pretty
That was the
important.
That was the rumor.
That was the rumor
the
that was
story
going
came out.
around, was that the therapist could verify that at a time before he ran for office that she could verify her allegation, and that's not what happened. And they reviewed emails, between her telling the therapist that it happened
in
later
June.
on in June.
June of this year.
In June of this year,
after she started working with
they
Shannon
did
Hunt.
talk to a friend, ex-boyfriend, who backed up her story. So that that's there, and the Facebook message is there too. But I don't know. I mean, the therapist detail was kind of important.
And I can read from the Politico article. So this is about this is the Politico describing the therapist. Racico showed Politico recent emails with her therapist. They say recent. My understanding is that this was June, weeks ago, in which Racicotte explained she was talking to the media about her relationship with Platner and the SA/R, using an abbreviation for. In the message, Racicotte was not ready to go public and was seeking help corroborating her account in conversations she was having with reporters on condition of anonymity. Her therapist responded that Racicotte shouldn't have to speak publicly about a traumatic incident in order to be believed without referencing details of any particular incident. The therapist, who Politico agreed not to name at her request, declined to comment when reached on Monday. So if you hear Adam Wren from Politico discussing it, the therapist confirmed that they discussed
That's
this.
not what they wrote.
But they should have written that in their article then.
Yeah, he is referring to the video, I guess, that we just watched of Adam Wren, the writer, and Mika, who made it sound in that interview that he just did on MSNBC that the therapist had basically confirmed these details prior to his run, basically, because that's what you're looking for. The timeline is, of course, hugely important, and that's neither in the article nor is it specified in the article where they say, well, in recent emails. They don't mention recent as in June of this year, as in last month, after the first round of accusations came out. So starting to stink a little bit more here. But there's more. There's more. So Ryan Grimm tweets out, Politico knew at the time of publication precisely what Jenny Rasico texted to Graham Platner, but deliberately omitted it from their article. Rasico, according to the lead Politico reporter on the story, told Platner she, quote, needed her glute massaged. He told her he was coming right over. She responded by telling him not to do so, but he came over quickly. Whether this detail is important to you or not, it's a shocking breach of journalistic ethics, by Politico and CNN not to include it in their coverage. Story at Drops Out to follow. Okay, so let's take a look at the video here where they get into this a little bit more.
CNN omitted a key detail from its reporting around the Graham Platner sexual assault allegations we have learned. Let's take a listen to how Jenny Rasico, the accuser of Graham Platner, described how the evening began in her interview with Jake Tapper on CNN.
It was a night where him and I were texting back and forth, and he had taken something that I said as an invitation, and that's not how I meant it, and I quickly clarified, and he sent a message back indicating that he would come over, and I said, no, don't come over. Like, I'm not in the mood, don't come over. And I was more stern with that message. And then I didn't hear back from him, so I thought that that meant he got the message or gave up on it or whatnot.
Okay, Sagar, so there was no follow-up from Jake Tapper. Mm-hmm. If you listen closely there, that she said, we were texting back and forth, and he took something that I said as an invitation to come over. This is, they'd been dating off and on for about 2 years at this point. The follow-up from a normal person at that point is,
what did you say?
What'd you say?
Right.
Like, what was the thing that you said to him that he misunderstood?
Right. So she teases out that detail in the Jake Tapper interview. Now, we don't know enough to say either way, but obviously there is the chance, since that was a pre-taped interview, that they cut something out, that they cut some detail out. Maybe he did ask a follow-up and they cut it from the interview. I'm not saying that happened. We have no way of knowing that. But it was not live. It was pre-taped. So there's always the possibility that it was edited in that way. But let's assume it wasn't edited. Let's assume she kind of teases out some new information through no fault of her own. You know, she's just relaying information. He declines to probe further. Well, what was it that you said that was perceived as an invitation to come over? He just doesn't say that at all. Now, Politico, which was the source of all of this, does an even worse job as he gets into here.
Now, let's take a look at how Politico reported this. This is D8. This is how Politico first reported. So Rasico told Politico she connected with Platner on the dating app Bumble in 2019 and had consensual relations with him prior to the night he allegedly assaulted her. That night in late 2021, she said she had exchanged text messages with him and told him not to come over, saying she wasn't in the mood for company. Later that evening, she said she realized when she heard a sound on the stairs that he had let himself into her house, which was unlocked. Platner came up the stairs, Rasico said, to where she was on a couch. He got on top of her and kept grabbing her, she said, while she repeatedly told him to stop and that she wasn't interested. So, Sagar, you read that, and most people in Washington who read that, they're like, that sounds like he broke in to the house, like uninvited, and then began a violent assault of her. Nowhere does Politico mention what she mentioned to CNN there, that she had said something in the text message exchanges that he mistook as an invitation. They just say, and elsewhere in the article, they say he was, quote, uninvited.
Right. So Politico just completely declines to mention any of the details. And then she volunteers a hint of detail to Jake Tapper. He decides not to follow up.
It turns out, and we have learned, that Politico definitively, at the time of publication, knew precisely what Jenny had texted to Graham that he, according to her, mistook as an invitation to come over. And we know this because the Washington Post also interviewed Jenny Rasicot. And Jenny told the Washington Post, because she's being honest. She's laying out all of the details, which is how it should be. You lay out all the details, and then you let the readers, the public, the voters say, okay, here, we have all the different facts. Here's how we interpret this scenario. So good for her for being transparent.
I totally agree with you, and I want to say that up at the top.
Yes.
This is in no way an attack on her. This is about how I believe that the media has handled this story.
She was
truthful from the beginning
about this. She doesn't. She doesn't have the text messages anymore. Platner apparently doesn't have the text messages anymore, so we're going by her memory of what they are.
Right, and we know, and what they're saying is true, and it's important. You know, she was forthcoming about the nature of those text messages because the Washington Post had them. So what he's saying is Politico just decided that that was not important for the reader to know. And
to her credit, she divulged the details of the text messages from that evening, and she divulged it to the Washington Post. The Washington Post reaches out to the Platner campaign for comment. Good for the Washington Post. And in their request for comment, they mention that Jenny had been texting him talking about a massage earlier. And so the Platner campaign sees this, and they go back to Politico, and they say, apparently there's some more context here about like the back and forth. Like, do you know about these text messages? The reporter then exchanges messages with the Platner campaign. Those messages have been now circulating in Maine politics, in Maine political circles. I obtained a copy of those. I was able to authenticate them with sources with knowledge of them. And here is what the Politico reporter said to the campaign. Jenny Rasicot had been, quote, texting Platner about needing her glute massaged. That detail didn't make our story.
Right.
That detail didn't make your story. That detail didn't make your story. You don't think that's an important detail?
I mean, they could have made him look worse because she didn't even get the massage.
Yeah, right.
Glute massage. So within about a half an hour of getting this glute massage text, Platner is in the house. Now, she says
she followed up.
No, don't come.
And don't come.
Because he texted back. So he's wasted, clearly. He gets this message. I need my glute massaged.
Right.
He comes over. He's texts back, I'm coming over. And she's like, wait, don't come over. She says, don't come over, don't come over. This is Maine. He's not taking the subway. Like, so he's drunkenly driving over there.
Yes.
Comes into the house, and then it gives, she says he's grabbing her on the couch. Well, where is
She's saying no.
Right. Where's he grabbing her? Right. Like, is he like immediately starting like the glute massage or whatever?
Right.
Anyway, the Washington Post, to its credit, included a version of the detail. We could put up Washington Post at D7. One night in November or December 2021, she said she texted him to say that she could use a massage. She said she did not intend it as an invitation, but he interpreted it that way, immediately replying to say he would come right over. She said she wrote back twice, telling him not to. The Post was not able to review the alleged messages or independently verify them. Rasicot said she later deleted them soon after the incident. So they didn't.
Okay, but so that's how you like present information, right? The way Politico presented this information was clearly curated to create a specific impression upon the reader. There is simply no question about that. Doesn't mean he's innocent. Doesn't mean she's a liar. In fact, they went out of their way to say, no, she's actually obviously been quite honest and forthcoming. It was Politico's decision not to include that detail about what she said at all. The original reporting doesn't even mention that she said something that was perceived as an invitation to come over her house. She teased that out to CNN. CNN's Jake Tapper decided not to follow up on that. Why? Well, I think it's pretty obvious why. right? Because that creates a lot more doubt as to the context
Right.
of this
Right.
visit, as to the nature of their relationship. Like, I'm sorry, like if you text a guy that you've been dating on and off for 2 years saying you need your ass massaged, that's, I'm not trying to be crude, but that's what a glute is. That's basically what you're saying. That is context in a case, especially in a high stakes, high profile case like this with major political impacts for the country. I think you have an obligation to be like much more thorough, right?
Right.
Well, we just didn't think that was an important detail. No, I think it obviously is an important detail. But of course, the left now out, knives out for Ryan Grimm over this. They omitted it because it isn't in any way relevant to whether Platner raped her. Absolutely shameful and disgusting rape apologia from, I don't know what MRA is, Ryan Grimm and his anti-Me Too sidekick, Sagar. That doesn't give him permission to rape her, Ryan. It's not what he said. It's not what he said. Like, like he did not say, you are a fuck, your stats for lefties, the watermelon trans here. You are fucking disgusting. This is a shameful hit job on a brave woman who no doubt hesitated in coming forward because she was afraid that scumbags like you would do exactly what you have now done. Fuck you. You mean report information that gives context to the story? Isn't that what a journalist is like supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to give as much information as possible? Don't forget, if this guy does show up unannounced, breaks in, and I mean, you're talking about a crime punishable by decades in jail. The statute of limitations is not up on this either. It's a 20-year statute of limitations. So potentially, if she decides to take this to court, the guy could be locked in a cage for a very long time. So I think given all that, it's kind of important to get as much information out there as possible. Of course, not if your motivation is to destroy someone's candidacy. But if you're a journalist, you're not really supposed to worry about that. I am disgusted by Ryan Grimm and Dropsite News' decision to run a story about Platner survivor Jenny Rassicot's text message with the obvious intent to spread doubt about her credible accusations of rape. I am canceling my Dropsite subscription, and I encourage you to do the same. Oh, really? So now we're canceling our subscriptions to Dropsite. You know, Janine Eunice in the last segment we did about this said this is why, you know, nothing ever is going to come from the American left. And she's right. This is the American left. This is the American left. Just infested with this, like, just, you know, PMC politics of manners and home monitoring. It's never, nothing is ever going to happen here. Nothing is ever going to happen here. It's Thomas Massey or bust is what it's looking like to me, because this is totally hopeless. This is totally hopeless. They just destroyed this guy based on claims that now we know for a fact whether, and I'm not saying he's innocent or guilty. I still think he should drop out because of how he reacted to this. Like, he's not a viable candidate anymore. He's got to be out. I'm not changing my position on any of that. And I'm not saying he's innocent. But what you know now for a fact, for an absolute fact, there is absolutely no doubt about this right now, is that this story has been packaged in a way to create maximum political damage to this man, not in service of finding the actual truth. You made it look like you saw text messages that you didn't actually see. We know that. Adam Wren said that as per the original article. You omitted a text message that sheds important light on the context of his showing up at the house, and I would argue the context of their overall relationship dynamic. And the writer in that interview deliberately, there's no doubt about this, deliberately misrepresented the timeline and therefore the context of the interactions with the therapist. He clearly tried to make it sound on MSNBC like the therapist corroborated this before Platner declared his candidacy. And that is not true. It was corroborated last month after the first round of smears failed. So right there, you have three obvious examples of journalistic malpractice, of obvious bias, obvious intent to steer the reader in a specific direction. That is beyond debatable at that point. It's not beyond debatable whether he's guilty or not. I'm not saying that. And I think given the totality of everything and his reaction to all of this, he had only one choice, and that was to drop out, and that's the choice that he made. But you can't any longer look at this as a piece of solid reporting that was an honest expose of something that was not done in bad faith. I don't think you could say that anymore. I think you could say for sure at this point, truth or not behind it, this was clearly a coordinated and biased smear piece with clear political intent. What political intent? I'll submit this for the record. Politico boss reportedly demands allegiance to Israel from editorial staff.
Axel Springer, right?
Yeah. Remember when this came out, the Politico CEO called an all-hands meeting to say that the outlet unequivocally supports Israel. He also said any reporter who disagrees with his personal Zionism should quit. When pressed by reporters on the need to follow journalistic ethics, he said, I don't need to prove Iran is seeking a nuclear weapon. So that's what you're dealing with at the outlet in question here. And you can see, man, this guy's a fucking nervous wreck. Does this look like a guy who's confident in his reporting right here?
In the months after this happened,
did she show you the text message? Well, she was she tried to, but she was unable to produce them for a 15, 20-word answer for no. I didn't see the text message. No, she couldn't actually produce the things that we based this article on. Way back in 2021, one more, sorry for blowing up your replies. Doesn't this little fact about Politico seem extremely fucking suspicious given the massive energy Platner has gotten in Maine? Railing against Israel, new Politico owner says will enforce pro-Israel policy. Now, Donald Trump took this opportunity to rat fuck the race even further by trolling here and shedding doubt on the accusations.
Speaking of Democrats, do you think that the Democrats should be able to pick a replacement for Graham Platner? He's had all these new allegations that have come out. Now Democrats are talking about picking a replacement for him. Should they be able to do that?
They're picking what?
A replacement for Graham Platner if he steps out of the race.
So he won the primary.
And now there's these new allegations.
It's very hard for them to do. And it's really a question of whether or not you believe the woman. A lot of people say big falsehoods.
He's such a scumbag.
He's in a bind. But should they be able to do it? Well, I guess he's going to lose. I would imagine he's going to lose. It's very interesting when a Republican woman came out with the same charge, nobody believed her. When this woman came out, everybody believed her, right, Doug? Did you get any pictures of it, Doug? You don't want them. They wouldn't sell, Doug. So, any other questions?
So he's obviously trying to sow as much doubt about the story in hopes that he stays in because he thinks he's beatable now. That's obviously what that. Well, you never know. Some of these women are real liars. Maybe he should be believed. And then after the 13th deadline comes and goes, he's a horrible monster. That would change his tune there. But Donald Trump never misses an opportunity.
You believe the Democrats support a Nazi that's not from Ukraine?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But in light of all this, Graham Platner here doubles down on his denial, but confirms that he is, in fact, dropping out of the race.
It's Graham Platner here.
Graham Platner.
I think as many of you know, over the past couple days, I have faced some very serious allegations, and I just want to make it clear. This is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen. It's not real. It has placed an immense amount of weight on me as I think about what needs to happen now. Amy and I are regular people. We were not looking for this experience. We were not looking to get into politics. We had no desire to run for office. I just want you to think about what you would do as a regular person in a position where a much larger world, large forces, were working against you personally to accuse you of the worst thing that a person could do, and it was not remotely true. I learned about this through press inquiries, with no time to truly respond, no time for investigations before a corporate media system and the political establishment got to act as judge, jury, and executioner. Accusations are supposed to be the beginning of things, not the end. I think it's really important to understand why this is happening in the timeline, why this is happening right now, much like October when the first attack started, much like the news that was created the week before the primary. There is a reason that this is happening now. I only have until July 13th until I am officially the nominee. This was the last week to try to get me off of the ballot. And that's why this is occurring. It's not the false allegations, though, that have brought us to where we are. It's the fact that they are being used by the political establishment to put structural pressure on us. We live in a political system that is not built for normal people. It is a system that is built structurally to make sure that movements like ours cannot flourish. That if they begin to succeed, they can be crushed. What we have accomplished here, you made possible. The people of Maine, the volunteers, the voters, the grassroots donors, and I have all the faith in the world that we could win if we could continue to harness that. But the brutal political reality is that they are going to take everything away from us. Those in power who have the ability to do so are using these allegations as an excuse to take away all of the things that we need to run a campaign. We are going to lose our ability to fundraise. We are going to lose our ability to access voter data. We are going to lose all of the things that any campaign needs on the basic level simply to function. Larger organizations, the national level party, the bigger donor networks, they have all committed to spending no money in this race if I'm in it. They would rather see Susan Collins win than have me be the next senator from Maine. We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be me. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations.
There you have it. And that was my edit there right at the end, just to cut to the chase, because that went on for 11 minutes. But the first 4.5 minutes there before he says that's why I'm suspending the campaign, that was all continuous. Probably see where that edit was there. But that is the end of the Graham Platner campaign. So it's impossible to know the validity of this accusation. I said it seemed like a credible accusation. Still may very well be. But what's obvious right now is that you're getting a biased version of events. I just listed 3 that were plain and obvious. And usually where there's bullshit, there's more bullshit. That's the other thing. Like, because they've been caught in 3 pretty egregious distortions here, how do you know what else there is out there that has not come to light, that they've hidden? This now has the earmarks of a smear piece, and there's just no way to tell for certain what the truth of the matter is. But what we can tell for certain that the truth of the matter is regarding Graham Platner is that he was not up for this. Clearly not up for this. I mean, clearly the guy is a mess, right? I think that's pretty obviously discernible from all this. Guys, PTSD and alcoholism, clearly had a dysfunctional dating life. Seems like he was almost certainly a belligerent drunk.
Seems like he has a type.
Yeah. He clearly has a lot of shit in his life that is fodder for negative campaign ads. And of course, if you are running in a year like this, in a state like Maine, against a Republican rival that the Democrats have had their eyes on beating for years, if you're running against AIPAC, if you're running against Israel, you know that everybody out there is going to be turning over every stone they can to find as much dirt on you as possible. And if you couldn't react to this with more backbone and more defiance, then I'm sorry, do we trust you to hold the line when you get the whisper in the ear from Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer about an Iron Dome vote? No, man. Like,
That's
if
what
this
Mel
is,
said, basically.
yeah, I mean, if this is too much heat for you, then you were never up for this. You should not have done this. Now, some of these guys do this just to do it, thinking I'll never win anyway. What the hell? I'll run. I'm an oyster farmer. What the fuck chance do I have? And then you fall ass backwards into this lightning in a bottle moment. Who knows what it is? Who knows what the truth of it is? But you know, he clearly was not up for this. He does not have the fortitude for it. And he basically says that right there. He says, look, I'm an ordinary person. I never really thought about getting into politics. And now, despite our victories, they're crushing us. They're taking it away from us. And by they, I mean, he doesn't get too specific as to what he means by they. But this is a Democratic Party job here. Because if the Republicans were behind something like this, they'd wait till after the July 13th deadline where he's on the ballot and the Democrats can't do shit about it. This seems to me like they tried to do this the easy way by publishing all this Oppo research in advance of the primary. And when that didn't work, they did it the hard way, which is, okay, now we're going to force him out, force a nominating convention, which we'll get into in the next piece. But that seems to be the story of how this went down. An obvious bad faith smear piece that does not render the allegation illegitimate as a whole. I'm not saying that. But also what you have here is further confirmation. You hear it right from his mouth. I'm an ordinary guy. They're crushing us. This is what the system does to ordinary people. He's telling you right there he doesn't have the fortitude to fight it. And so he's dropping out, and that's that.
Yeah, I mean, one upside to this is being accused of this type of crime has gained him a lot of support from Michael Tracy and Matt Taibbi.
Yeah, that's true.
That really turned these guys around on Graham Platner.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden, Matt Taibbi is very protective of this guy that he savaged in an article a couple months ago. I got to say, the reactions to this story have really, going back to what Janine Eunice said, it's really illustrated in sharp relief what an absolute clown show what passes for a left in America is.
Yep.
If I wrote a book about America, if I wrote like a think piece about America, I would almost certainly call it Jerry Springer Nation, because everyone is reduced to the Jerry Springer studio audience. That's what passes for reaction and discourse, right? A lot of chest pounding, a lot of standing up to declare moral superiority. Oh, I don't do that. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm not like that, right? It's like, it's a lot of that. It's just fucking nonsense. You can't process that Ryan Grimm very emphatically was telling a story about media malfeasance completely aside from the veracity of the allegations, and actually went out of his way to say she's clearly been very forthright.
Right.
But this is a media story. Any excuse, just like those Jerry Springer audiences used to, like that's what they were there for. They were there to stand up and declare their superiority over the poor schmucks that they threw out on stage there who were willing to degrade themselves that way for their 15 minutes. That's it. That's like the discourse. It's a bunch of people. And then just on Graham Platner himself, I mean, you just have these, people with the absolute conviction that Graham Platner should be supported and there's nothing wrong here. Yeah, no, this guy, there's nothing in his past that would indicate that this is not the end of this at all.
Right.
Here's a guy who told you nothing else like this was going to happen. What was that, 2 weeks ago? Like, clearly he had a past that's going to generate more stories like this. And then you have the people, see, we told you all of these terrible things about Graham Platner, and okay, this is the horrible truth. And no, this is not a blue no matter who argument. You do what you want. I don't really care. Graham Platner or Susan Collins. Now, I can't see myself ever really being like, yeah, this Democrat is having a campaign event, kids. Go on out there and help them. I can't imagine that ever happening. I'm not going to go out of my way to savage a candidate who is possibly going to vote against authorizing weapons sales to Israel. Now, you could say, well, they're not going to do that later. Well, Susan Collins is definitely not going to do it. Absolutely not going to do it.
Right.
Now, if this person is going to stab you in the back, like, yeah, maybe. Why would you go out of your way to make sure this person doesn't get elected when they're running against Susan Collins? I'm not saying go out of your way to support them or to endorse them. We never did, in spite of some people's misrepresentations. We did stories about Platner when it came up in the news cycle, and we have basically expressed that view that we'd rather see him there than Susan Collins.
Right, sure.
What I meant when I said I never bothered to research it was I never endorsed Platner. Like, if I endorsed him, I would feel like an obligation to look into who this guy is.
Right.
Passively looking at it from the sidelines, I say, yeah, I'd rather see that guy win. This whole way of approaching politics, it's childish. Everyone has to either be an absolute hero or an absolute villain. They have to be absolutely aligned with your beliefs or they're absolutely wrong. Real life's not like that, man. And if you set a standard like that, as any cancel culture pig will tell you, eventually the mob is going to come for you. That is really not where you want to be. No one's pure enough, because in the end, when you create that kind of an atmosphere, the mechanism of ruling people out of bounds becomes the point. That becomes the point of the exercise. Once they run out of people to rule out of bounds, they're going to rule you out of bounds. Those kinds of movements always eat themselves from the inside. The left, as it exists today, is the result of a Cold War era psyop that never ended to ensure that there would never be a meaningful, serious left movement. The whole discourse is an op. You want to talk about an op? You're an op. You're an op. You don't realize it.
Yeah,
you don't realize it, but you're a fucking op. If you're running around making sure there can't be any unity, because what? You and the 17 other asthmatics who sit behind a keyboard all day tearing down anyone who tries to actually do anything productive are going to what? Lead a revolution? Come on, man. Come on. What are you talking about? I'm not saying, well, so you got to be a Democrat. I'm not. What do I admire the most of anything I've seen since I've been in the space? The Uhurus.
Right.
You know where you find them? You find them in the streets.
Outside.
In the streets, building basketball courts and bakeries. You know where you don't find them? On X.
Right.
You ever see anyone from the Uhuru group in any of these threads?
Right.
In any of these conversations? They're too busy actually doing the work. My argument is not, well, you got to be a Democrat or you got to be this or you got to be that, but just constantly trying to find the hottest take you can. It's Marshall McLuhan. He said the medium is the message.
Of course.
And the medium of cable news trained people to think that's what politics is. It turned everyone's take into a world wrestling event. Everything's slamming the chair over the other one's head, right? It's you're not going to accomplish anything that way. You're certainly not going to expand your following that way. Yesterday, when I talked to Nick on Jimmy's, it was like, yeah, I don't want to go after Mamdani followers. I want to convince them. Yeah, like that's the difference between a schmuck for whom politics is not about politics at all. It's about an emotional release. It's about therapy. It's about catharsis. It's about primal screaming, and somebody who's actually trying to organize people. If you want to organize people, you don't want to alienate people, right? If you're all about alienating people, you're not about politics. You're about your emotional damage, and you latched onto politics as a means to express it. I wouldn't have expected the Graham Platner candidacy to have been the thing that brought out the dysfunctional prism of leftist dysfunction colors, but for some reason it did, and it's not a pretty sight.
Well, it's not the only thing. I mean, it's one of many things, and that's why Janine, observed what she did, and it's undeniable. Medium is the message. That's it. It's online branding. It's online branding to just find the flaws in people and hammer on that. Because what do when you do that? By process of elimination, you are creating a pure image of yourself. Right? By pointing out the moral shortcomings in everybody else, right? To what end? I mean, I have no idea to what end. Like, I have no idea what the real world purpose is of piling on Graham Platner as your only contribution to the discourse surrounding this Senate race. Like, he's clearly the least evil person in the race, right? In a meaningful sense, not in a bullshit sense, but in a meaningful sense, i.e., we should have nothing to do with Israel versus Susan Collins, who's going to keep funding and arming Israel, right? It's a meaningful difference. If you don't believe that, then I don't believe you, right? I don't believe you don't believe that. Okay, so if that's the case, then why is the only thing you have to say about this? He was a guard at Blackwater. He was this. He was that. Yeah, I'm not. You don't have to be the guy's friend, man. You know, the guy. Politics is about executive decisions. Right. It's about yes or no. Pull this lever or that lever. You flip this switch or you flip that switch. That's it. That's all that matters. That is all that matters. And so the discourse surrounding these is for the most part, it's entirely meaningless. It's almost entirely meaningless. It means almost
as
nothing.
Intended.
What you have to say, as intended. That's right. And the animating thing on the left is and will always be, no matter how many pro-Palestine marches there are, no matter how many labor marches there are, no matter how many anti-war marches there are, the thing that's always going to get them animated the most is this sexual politics and this gender politics and this culture war politics. It never fails, no matter what the context is. After 3 years of a genocide, we're going to come out, we're going to pile on this guy because of a story that is now clearly manipulated to make you feel a certain way. And you walk right into it because, God forbid, you be on the wrong side of that mob. That mob is what has the most control in left of center politics in this country, which is why what Janine Eunice said is absolutely right. No solutions are coming from the American left as long as it is constituted in a way that resembles this. You know who also had a take on this? This is a guy, I wasn't going to put this in the segment. Richard Spencer says, you know what? You could either have left populism or you could have this Me Too moralism. Can't have both. It'll never work this way. And that's just a fact. It'll never work this way. And so I think the pile, and look, I don't even like Ryan Grimm. Ryan Grimm, we've done pieces about how he's lied about the squad and the railroad strike
his whole
and all
squad
that shit.
book.
All the whole fucking shit. I don't even like Ryan Grimm. But the fact is, the guy did his job as a journalist, which is, hey, I found out what Politico knew and what they withheld from people on purpose and then lied about having withheld it because the guy tells Mika Brzezinski there on TV, oh, yeah, no, we had communications with the therapist. Doesn't divulge that those communications were from last month. Makes it sound like they predated his Senate run.
Of course, that's
the whole thing.
That was the
timeline
impression.
is the
that
whole
was,
thing.
Right, and that was quite intentional. Ryan Grimm, that's another example. Ryan Grimm does some of the best reporting out there on corporate malfeasance, on Israel in particular. And then he has these terrible takes on the railroad strike, on the squad. Like, you can't be a fucking grown-up and take the good and reject the bad. Like, everyone has to be a hero or a villain. It's just, that's just not the real world. Look, man, I've been to the CPC museum. Mao was famous for forcing glue massages on people.
Yeah. He had big glutes. He liked to receive glute massages.
He loved there's a whole diorama of him, forcing himself on those soldiers. They considered it an honor. Yeah, it's it is this combination of like the post-duopoly thing. So what do you do when you have a Democrat who's representing your position? So you got to go after them, and then you throw in the Me Too sexual politics. It was like a perfect formula for just demonstrating what Janine Eunice said.
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
this is a completely ineffectual movement of neurotics and rage junkies.
It's completely useless. It's fucking useless. It's impotent and worthless. And that's what makes, not to drag things out here, but that's what makes all of, Trump's fear mongering about communism so especially laughable. Like,
right,
communism, these guys fucking, the whole movement falls apart when you find out that the guy, touched a woman 5 years ago. I mean, it's a joke. It's beyond a joke. It really is. What the truth of this matter is that Graham Platner, I think, was a mess of a guy. He's got a very messy history. He probably did have a lot of borderline incidents with women, as belligerent drunks tend to. And he knows that there's more questionable stories, and it's just going to be one barrage of accusations and insinuations after another. Some may be real, some may be not.
Well,
some
and
may
also,
be
I think what
less
he
severe
said,
than as advertised. Some may be more, but he knows that this is not going to stop. He knows this is not going to stop. There's too much here, and ultimately, I think that does come down to A, the candidate knowing whether or not he's up for this, and B, the vetting team. And before I toss you, I just want to play this because this is just funny. Here's an interview with the people who vetted Graham Platner. This is short, but this was the brain trust behind the launch of this doomed candidacy.
You hadn't vetted Graham Platner. You hadn't done a full scrub of who he is. How did you go about vetting him? And why did you?
We paid. We paid a nice firm a whole chunk of money.
Can you believe that?
At this point, you hadn't vetted Graham Platner. You hadn't done a full scrub of who he is. How did you go about vetting him? And why did you?
We paid. We paid a nice firm a whole chunk of money and got some stuff.
That's
back.
your reaction? Now, to be clear, I think this interview was done before he dropped out.
Right.
But still, these are the vetters. These are
some of what you've seen on the news we got back. Other stuff we didn't.
Did the vetting process turn up the tattoo that became so controversial?
No.
The Reddit posts, did that turn up in the vetting process?
The firm sent us a thing, and it had some of the posts, but it
said more cushion for the pushing. We didn't understand what it meant.
That. How did you think your way through the fact that he had posted these things on social media?
I said none of this will or should stop him from becoming a U.S. senator.
And what was your
clearly the
thinking
voters
there?
agree. I think if what the voters wanted were people who were grown in vats and had never done or said anything that they might regret their entire lives, we'd have a very different country. Part of our thesis here is that people do not want their candidates grown in vats. They want people who are real human beings.
Now that
and they want
is
people who do
vocal
not
for
look
it,
and
man.
sound
That is vocal
like
for
the
it.
vat-grown people who've been leading this country.
Taibbi
off
should
the
get this
cliff
guy as his
for
wingman.
the last century. And that was Graham.
They'll sound like they're
days
making
after.
fun of each other.
Exactly. They'll do an audio-only podcast called Guess Who's Talking? Guess Who's Speaking? I mean, holy shit, that guy. And then this, I gotta say, this is one of the all-time great polls on X. The all-time great pop culture polls is this. Meet the team that vetted Graham Platner. The top versus the bottom. What is that, Superbad? It was like one of those teen comedies, like a Superbad or something like Superbad. I forget exactly what that movie was. But I remember that character, the stoned out Asian girl who just can't stop giggling no matter what. So how'd you vet Graham Platner? I mean, what a fucking nightmare. What a fucking nightmare.
Quite a
So,
ball club.
Quite a ball club. Quite a ball club. I mean, apparently you don't need much of a resume to work in Maine Democratic Party politics.
I guess not. No.
Those are the people who were vetting a Senate candidate in this high stakes a year. I mean, yo, that is a massive L. That is a massive fuck up. And look, our take on this is kind of complicated, obviously. Allegations may be true, maybe not. We know for a fact now that the media lied about this story in ways that makes me suspect they lied about more than we even know they lied about, because usually when there's three lies, there's more lies than that. So who knows? But he didn't have the stomach for it, and his response to this is what ultimately sealed his fate. And so ultimately, this just never should have happened. This never should have happened. If you weren't up for it, you should have never done it, and that's the bottom line.
Yep.
All right. Did you have anything else? Oh, sorry, I don't know if I
no
stepped on. All right.
No.
Cool. All right. Let's take some chats and some rants. You want to take some, and I'll start copying over.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Banners.
There you go.
Plugs, right?
Yep.
All right. Michael Castillo making it rain right out of the gate.
Oh, look at that. Thank you, Michael.
Good
Appreciate
afternoon,
that
gentlemen. Russell, I loved your and Kurt's chemistry yesterday. You guys are dynamite. Guys, you should do a type of sketch comedy along with Jimmy, Kurt, Steph, and the crew with your theater experience. Free Palestine. Well, you know, man, one of the things I'm going to be doing this weekend is reading through my horror sci-fi script submissions. And that is pretty much going to, by the end of the weekend, I should know if we're doing a live show in October. Vienticus Prime. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. And so you don't comply. That's where you're wrong. I'm very compliant. Nong, nong, nong. Now we'll never get to see pictures of Platner drinking vodka off some mercenary's bare butt. We may yet.
We may yet.
We
You
may
never
yet.
know.
Professor Brown note, this show is not a good use of my time. I'm doing a 28-part series of nonlinear land reform in pre-Columbian Peru, and now I have to listen to your simple chats and rants.
That's funny.
Hey, I always tell people, you got something better to do, go do it. I don't blame you.
That's a take on the DSA guy.
I know.
Great, yeah.
Professor Brown note. Also, did I mention my book on subversive earwax collection in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth? Okay, I'll send you a signed copy. You can pay me later. Please do. We have a P.O. box. Me shoot skeet super sticker. Thank you, sir. Vienticus Prime. When you mentioned Rocky Horror, I jumped to the left. So I had to take a step to the right. Yeah, at the curtain call, they did the time warp, and yeah, I still know how to do it. I still know all of it. And TerrorBank 5000, Keaton, if you are looking for a second guest tomorrow, I highly recommend Nima Tabaleh, Iranian soccer journalist and frequent George Galloway guest.
Oh, I already have a set. Thank you for the recommendation, but I already have a guest in mind. I just don't know if they're available yet, and so I don't want to advertise them before I know if they're available.
I mean, basically, I've been leaning heavy into guests. Keaton's just doing one. I mean, I'm generally doing two.
Well, I have one. I'm trying to get a second. I have.
Oh,
Caleb,
you are?
yeah.
Oh, you are trying to get a second?
Yeah. I just don't want to say on the air who it is in case they're not available.
In case they don't do it.
Yeah.
Nocturnal Human. We had Fat Sagar. Now we have Sad Kyle Kalinske. He's a clown, man. What a clown. That's why, like, I won't even share a post of his I agree with, because I know his next post is going to be some Democrat shill post. Democrat Comrade Cranky. What would American society do if Russia and Iran just went ahead and declared war on the U.S.? I don't know, man. Kiss their asses goodbye. I mean, really, it would bring out the whole, like, I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah,
you'd get a big dose of that. Kenman G. Platner may be guilty, but interesting that discourse about his campaign has shifted from class struggle back to identity issues, toxic masculinity in wake of his downfall. Yeah,
it's always going to land there. It's always going to land there, and you're always going to be obligated to virtue signal how eager you'd be to cut off your own dick.
Yo, this is why I know sometimes it is discomfited my colleague who's not crazy about culture segments. You got to do it, man, because you're not getting anywhere until you excise all of that out of the left. Otherwise, you're pissing in the wind because it's always going to end here. So, yeah, like, is it a trap? Yes, that's what makes it a good trap. You have to address it. You have to address it because these people have way too much power. And I've said this many times. There are a lot of people who should know better who traffic in that shit, who actually have an ML theory. I've talked to Tusker about this. Like, you've got communist factions that are very identitarian, and then you have other communist factions who are like, step off with that shit, right? Like, I don't understand how you're a communist and you don't understand that has no place in your movement. But until you get there, yeah, all you have to do is throw this out, because you're going to have enough people, even ones who have an economic populist theory or message, who are going to be moved by this first and foremost. You can't combine those things. You can't. You got to get rid of this shit.
Right. I mean, that is going to be what motivates the most people at the end of the day. Or even if it's not the most people, it's enough to derail the whole project, right? It's enough. It causes enough chaos to just cause everything to fall apart.
Right.
All right. I actually do have a B part, so let's do one more and then I'll go to that.
Worst skill. If only Platner had essay the wall like a normal politician.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
There you go. Should have fucked that wall. He'd be golden. They'd be giving her the Tara Reid treatment.
That's right. All right. So Neera Tanden, says this is all because of the actions of Graham Platner. Neera Tanden, who supported Bill Clinton, Eric Swalwell, and Andrew Cuomo, yes, chiming in about how Graham Platner should have known better than to run for office with these kinds of skeletons in his closet.
This whole situation is a horrifying tragedy on so many levels. And the people I feel the worst for are really the people Nikki is talking about. The people who were betrayed by Graham Platner. I mean, he's angry at the world, but it's his own actions that have caused this situation that we're in. And I feel like the fact that he takes zero responsibility of that really enrages me. But I feel the people I feel the worst for in this situation are people who felt hope about this campaign. And I do think the process
You
has
love
to
them.
ensure that people who felt hope in this campaign, in his campaign, and about change in Maine have a voice in that process.
They should have a voice in the process of replacing him.
In this situation are people who felt hope about this campaign. And I do think the process has to ensure that people who felt hope in this campaign, in his campaign, and about change in Maine have a voice in that process.
She wants him to have a voice in the process. No, they shouldn't have a voice in the process. They should pick the successor. Voice in the process. Yeah, that sounds like they're about to fucking shiv you in the side if you know Democratic Party lingo.
Well,
right?
of course.
They should have a seat at the table. So here's Joy Reid, who now has a podcast, apparently on StreamYard, just like we do now. And she says it's not vote blue no matter who. It matters who replaces Platner, because the people picked a progressive, not an APAC moderate.
The reality is we have to make sure that we're focusing on every race on this democracy team, all the way down to the school board, state senate, state reps, members of Congress, House and Senate, and try to win them all and try to block MAGA out of every single office. You want to block MAGA out from every aspect of power, because at this point, you just have to say all of MAGA is racist. All of MAGA.
Wait, sorry. That's not the right clip. What the fuck is that? Joy Reid, it's not. Yeah, that's the right one, isn't it? Let me see here. Sorry. I think that was the wrong clip. I'll find it. Let me find it here. There we go. All right. Maybe it is. Who knows? Let's see. I didn't think that was the right one. Maybe I'm just misremembering it. Hang on, folks. I'll get it.
Well, what is this? There's a clip of Wesley Snipes and Demolition Man, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. There we go. Okay, this is the right one. Sorry about that. Sorry, I got it right here. Sorry, I'll have it 1 second, folks. I'll cut that out.
Voters of Maine said, we want a progressive. They did not.
There we go. My apologies. Pulled the wrong video by accident.
Progressives picked Platner. So you need to replace him with somebody who is ideologically the same, because that is what was decided. The people of Maine, the Democratic voters of Maine said, we want a progressive. They did not say they want an APAC moderate. So the Democratic Party in Maine ought to pick someone who is ideologically the same or ideologically similar as Platner. If you don't, and the DNC shoves an APAC candidate down your throat, you have my permission to not vote for them, because the Democratic Party needs to learn that it is not vote blue no matter who. It matters who. They sometimes need to lose in order to learn. Sometimes when you lose, you learn.
Yeah, well, yeah. Still waiting on that.
Isn't it funny how all of a sudden Joy Reid gets it once her masters turned on her?
Yeah, once MSNBC.
Once MSNBC kicked her to the curb, all of a sudden now she gets it. Isn't this the one who talked about how the Bernie Sanders supporters were like bad roommates?
Yeah,
for
exactly.
trying to make their impact felt in her DNC that she felt such ownership of.
That's right.
So you got to look back on all that and say, you know, she got it, but she was being paid not to.
Right. Exactly. So Ali Mutnick tweets out from inside the room meaning the Maine Democratic State Committee meeting at 4:30. This would have been yesterday, as the uncertainty surrounding Graham Platner's candidacy continues to swirl. Maine Democrats are discussing a nominating convention for end of July to replace Graham Platner in the Maine Senate race, per sources. The nominee would be chosen by 500 delegates selected by counties and the 100-plus Democratic State Committee members. So in other words, this is going to a, DNC-like body in the state of Maine, like Heather Champion says, not like Kamala. Yeah, right, yeah. Not that again. So Troy Jackson is throwing his hat in the ring here. This was the guy who Bernie endorsed for governor. He says there's a powerful movement of working class people in the state of Maine and millions more across America who are ready to send a progressive fighter to the Senate. I've been fighting for that movement my whole life, and I'm sure as hell not backing down now, blah, blah, blah. So he's running. He is polling ahead of Susan Collins by a comfortable margin, up by 5. Platner's now down by 5, but look at that. Platner's still outperforming Janet Mills even after all this. So Janet Mills now down by 11, and this other guy who I've never heard of down by 9. So it seems like Jackson is the pick if you care about winning, which is an open question for the Democratic Party apparatchiks there. A separate poll there has him up by 5. He seems consistently, comfortably ahead of Susan Collins, which is why you're now seeing the polymarket odds kind of adjusting to the fact that Platner has dropped out, which now gives them a 60+% chance of winning the seat. But, of course, you're talking about the Democratic Party here. If they can fuck it up, they likely will. So here you have this other guy here, Nirav Shah, who's throwing his hat in the ring.
Man, the past few days have been frustrating and downright maddening for all of us here.
Yeah, this guy just can't touch that. Graham Platner here. This guy's got nothing. Although they all record outside in the trees. I guess that's a main thing. You know what I mean? You gotta match that Graham Platner aesthetic.
Now it's time to focus on the future, because our goal has not changed. And that's why this morning I am proud to announce my candidacy for the United States Senate so that we can defeat Susan Collins. Now, to those who supported Graham Platner, my message is this. You have an important place in this campaign because it represents the values that we all care about.
I just put my dick where it belongs. That's the difference between me.
Can you imagine a woman asking me to administer a glute massage? Never happened, never will.
I've never been asked for a massage by a woman ever. I can guarantee you that.
On her glutes or any place else.
No place else. That's right. Prem Thacker reports Nirav Shah, one of the prospective candidates to replace Graham Platner, says he will not vote to send aid to Israel and affirms that Israel is committing genocide. Shah took second in the Maine Democratic primary for governor and served as director of the Maine CDC. So this is him being asked, will you send aid to Israel, and do you consider their campaign in Gaza a genocide? He says, no, I will not send aid to Israel, and yes. So you can see he's not really eager to talk about this. Doesn't have anything in the way of Israel-Palestine on his website, but, you know, he knows what he has to say now, and this is a function of the statement that the Maine voters made when they nominated Graham Platner over Janet Mills. They all kind of feel like they have to run to the left on Israel, except perhaps this one. This is Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows saying she's seriously considering jumping into Maine's Senate race to replace Graham Platner. I think I'm the best person to beat Susan Collins in November. Really, the Secretary of State, even though they rejected the sitting governor, you think they'll really be warm on her sidekick here, jumping in instead of Graham Platner.
We need to take a beat and remember that this is about Jenny Rassicott and these serious allegations of sexual assault. Survivors of sexual assault need to be heard and respected, and that is why Graham Platner must withdraw. And I think he will. But he also ignited a powerful movement. He had thousands of volunteers who were really excited about seeing change in Washington, who were sick of a weak Senate not standing up to Trump, not fighting for working class people. And I think it's really important that that movement be carried forward. We need a candidate with backbone who can unite that party together and Maine voters. And I think I'm the best person to beat Susan Collins in November.
Well, let's see here. Here's some just research on her from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. Before assuming her current role, a position that is filled by state lawmakers every 2 years, Shenna Bellows served as the executive director of the Holocaust and Human Rights Center of Maine. In May, Bellows spoke at the Jewish Asian Friendship Dinner hosted by the Jewish Community Alliance of Southern Maine. Didn't know that. Can't imagine that has many members. Bellows said she began working with the JCA during her time leading the Holocaust Museum and said she'd attended numerous events that discussed many stories of Holocaust survivors and of genocide around the world, and how important it is that we stand up for all of each other and for unity and the love that we have for all of each other. Bellows also commended the JCA for its response to the surge of Immigration and Customs Enforcement presence over the winter, which included mutual aid to support people who felt unsafe leaving their homes. Bellows does not appear to have commented extensively on Israel, although she signed the Maine Governor Janet Mills' 2023 proclamation recognizing the 75th anniversary of the founding of modern Israel that wished the country a peaceful and prosperous future. So she sounds like the kind of candidate that's up the Democrats' alley. We'll see if she is able to strong-arm enough of the party apparatchiks into nominating her. Troy Jackson, clearly based on the numbers, I don't really know anything about him, is the strongest of the potential replacements. But this is the Democrats. They're going to take this behind closed doors, it looks like, and now it's going to be up to the party bosses. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, well, the party bosses are almost certainly going to go for the most pro-Israel person they have, and I'm not sure which of the two others that is. I'd be very surprised. I mean, is Jackson's position that Israel's committing a genocide?
Like I said, I don't know anything about Jackson except for the fact that he had Bernie's endorsement. I assume he probably
like they'll go with him if he's completely compromised,
right?
Because that gives them more plausible deniability. Like they'd rather have the seat than not.
Oh, sure.
You know, but if it comes to it, they'd rather not have the seat than have somebody who doesn't bend to Israel in the seat.
Of course. They did this to Platner at this time. Look at the timing of this. They did this a week before the deadline to drop out. I mean, that tells you everything right there. This was organically timed. This wasn't a Republican job. If it was a Republican job, they'd wait until it was too late for him to drop out.
Yeah.
So it's a Democrat job here. This is just more fuckery. It just never stops, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's why he said, look, we won and they're going to take it from us. And, you know, in a moment where he doesn't come off looking very good, he comes off looking very weak there in his concession video. But, he looked honest there, at least as far as that was concerned. We don't know if he's telling the truth about the incident, but he's telling the truth about the fact that, hey, we're just a couple ordinary people and the system is crushing us and there's nothing we could do.
Yep.
They got us. We lost. That's it. Like, that was an honest admission of the state of play here, which is they came for us and we're not equipped to fight back. That's it.
Well, and this is why I say I could not see myself ever getting involved in Democratic politics again because of things like this. Like, even if you do believe in the candidate, and a candidate that I would believe in would be a very high bar, it certainly would not be a bar that the DNC would not pull out all the stops to make sure that person was not their nominee, like they did with Bernie. I mean, that's why a lot of us just won't get involved at this point. Case in point.
Exactly. All right. EO Shush says they dumped Platner like he was eating babies on a private island. That's right. Yes. Worse, I would argue. You think Platner will start a podcast with Russell Brand? Yeah. He's going to be in Citizen Vigilante too in a couple years.
Yeah. Is this true? I didn't get a chance to follow up on this. Did Armie Hammer renounce this film?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Kurt said on air, he said he was serious about it.
Oh, really? I don't know.
It was like the most disgusting thing he's ever been involved in. Like, he didn't realize what it was going to be until he saw the cut. I don't see how with that scene with the Muslim family, you could not understand what it was going to be. But
Right. Mobile Volga says glute message now equals she had it coming. LMF. Yeah, you keep giving us $5 to just make these really cheap digs at us, which is fine. I mean, hey, $1 is $1, right?
Well, we'll take it.
Yeah, if that were a criminal case, let's say it did go to court.
That's $5 towards my next glute massage.
Exactly. Yeah. if it did go to court and the guy was facing decades of jail time, you don't think that would be a relevant piece of information? Hey, what was the nature of the conversation that preceded you showing up at the house?
I mean, this is what I'm talking about.
Like,
listen, you're not going to get anywhere just building your entire identity around pretending to be morally superior to other people, right? Like, it's not. No one cares. Like, literally touch grass. Literally, go outside. Go outside. Don't worry. We don't need you here. Go ahead.
Go outside.
Touch some grass.
Watch on your phone while you're outside.
Maybe look, you don't have to join a gym. Like, I know a lot of people that's beyond their financial means. Like, do some push-ups, man. Yoga. There's a lot of really good yoga videos.
Right.
Actually, like, you really don't have to pay for classes, but anything besides paying to be an asshole. Like, really, it's just not. It's not going to do anything for you. I promise you, you will not be happier tomorrow than you were today for having been an asshole today.
Right. You don't think a judge or a jury would find that information useful or pertinent to the case? Hey, what did she actually say to you that made you show up at the house? You don't think if you were on trial for his life that wouldn't be important?
Yeah,
well, he's on trial. He's on trial potentially for millions of other people's lives, right? Like you're running for the United States Senate in a very high stakes year. That's not an important piece of information. The person writing that article didn't have an obligation to disclose that, since millions of people are going to form a judgment that is potentially very consequential. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense. And of course, nobody said she had it coming. Ryan Grimm didn't say that. So nobody said, nobody said that.
Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer.
Eric Rousseau, why is it that AIPAC-backed candidates never have a last-minute Me Too scandal? Just curious. Well, yeah, you answer your own question there, my friend. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. MRA is men's rights activists. Love from Denmark. Oh, thank you. See, I didn't know that. Appreciate that, though. Thunderstorms moving through Jersey right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He called the movie hateful and disgusting.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that with Kurt tomorrow. There you go. That's
there you go. That's a good story.
I think couldn't tell by the script. What did they?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what did you?
What did you think?
I granted
maybe he thought
a
he
lot
was
of
the bad
things
guy.
could be changed, and
maybe he thought he was the villain.
That makes sense because the guy's banging hookers,
Right.
and talking about kicking people out of their houses and getting rid of all the old people in the office. Like, it's a villain. It's a villain story.
He may have thought it was just a very bleak movie about a horrible person who does terrible things.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is part of what's crazy when you watch this movie. I don't know that Uwe Boll necessarily intended it not to be, because if you want to make somebody a hero, as incompetent as he is, would you really give them dialogue about kicking out all the delinquent tenants and firing all the old people? Like, is that really how you would present? So maybe he did, and he just accidentally stepped in shit.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? That'd be pretty funny. Stoop Sign says, I think Platner was too drunk to know what he did. She also said she didn't want him all over the road drunk like that. Well, yeah, he was obviously pretty wasted at the time. And I think there's a lot of borderline stories like this that he knows are out there, and now he knows they're all going to come out if he stays in. Mobile Vilgas, Ryan Grimm is a hack who was a close friend of Blackwater mercenary Platner and was his biggest defender in alt media. Yes, we said you don't have to, you don't have to like Ryan Grimm. We don't. I mean, we've done a lot of dunking on Ryan Grimm over the years, and his sideburns don't match his hair either.
And we've also used him as a source for many pieces where he did excellent reporting. This is the world.
You're right. This is the world.
This is the world.
He's the only guy who had
If you
that.
want very simple black and white morality stories, there's Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
There's Avatar. That's for fantasy. That's not real life.
No. He's the guy who had that. He's the guy who got, because he has sources, because he's a DC, beat reporter guy.
Do you have
was
that?
able to get that text message, right?
You have
he was
that?
able to prove,
are you gonna pass on that information to us going forward?
He was able to prove that Politico committed a pretty egregious lie by omission, right? If he didn't have that, we wouldn't have known about it. So what are we supposed to do? Not report on it because he said it? Yeah, no, that's a great way to do a political show. Right.
Yeah.
It's a great way to do a news show.
That makes us very worthwhile as a news show.
Lindsey Graham, while we're on the subject, I can sure use a glute massage if you catch my meaning. Haha, good one, Raven Last. Mark Pugliese, Russ, I missed most of you and my comrade Nick on Jimmy. Do you think there'll be a clip? Yeah, they.
Yeah. They'll clip that. Yeah,
it's probably on Rumble right now. I mean,
I think so, because they have the first YouTube part of the show.
Well,
and the whole interview was on that side.
Yeah, the whole interview was on YouTube, so it's actually on YouTube now. The whole stream, the whole YouTube portion of the stream was on. Yeah, no, it was a great interview. I liked it a lot. Here we go. All right, another one from this guy here. So $15 now we're up to from you today.
Wow.
Ryan Grimm was defending a DSA shill for hanging up on Brianna Joy Gray because she brought up Shama Sawan.
Well, you know what? That clinches it. The next time Ryan Grimm provides valuable information, I'm not going to share it with the people who come to this show for information because of that. Yeah, no, that's the way adults live in the world. Yeah, that would make us a really valuable show to the audience if we impose those standards on how we gather information for our viewers who, God bless them, come here for that information. It's something we take very seriously. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to limit yourself to people who absolutely ideologically agree with you, you're going to be limited to shut-ins who post on X. Right? Like, how are you going to gather information that way? Noam Chomsky, Epstein affiliations aside, even in his manufacturing consent days, he said, I don't say not to read the Times. There's a lot of information in there, but you have to read it with a certain perspective. I mean, that's how you treat Ryan Grimm. Breaking points for getting a roundup of what the news stories out there are is very good, but you have to always remember who they are. Like, you don't have to fall in love with everybody.
Right. Interrobang, Mitch McConnell's ghost ordered me last night. Thanks. Yeah. Well, maybe Tucker didn't. Maybe it was Graham Platner who broke into Tucker's house and molested him. Maybe he was the demon. Maybe it wasn't Alex Jones. Maybe we owe Alex Jones an apology. Maybe it was Graham Platner.
Maybe it was Platner. Maybe it was both. Maybe they double teamed him.
Yeah. You get
I had one in my mouth and one in my ass. That's when I realized it was more than one demon.
Those guys both had they all three of those have funny enough voices where that could be a great radio play. All right, I'll take the front. You go around.
You know, when we used to do the horror sci-fi festival with my old company, I would usually write at least one play. I should write that one.
I mean, Alex Jones really does just sound like Graham Platner on a speedball,
Well,
right?
he
I mean,
does,
the same
yeah.
kind of voice,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
much more frantic, whereas Platner is much more subdued. But like the tone of voice is actually kind of similar. Jose Vega should be worried that if it looks like he could win, he'll find a dead Franzucker in his bedroom. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. I want Platner to keep running and win for more of Keaton's impressions. Well, that's what I said. I said I was looking forward to doing his voice for like 30 years, and
that's like you land that gig on SNL and then they lose the election.
Yeah, exactly, right. All right. Todd for Florida says, I'm old enough to remember when these same pearl clutchers and Tara Reid ran Tara Reid out of the country to protect Biden.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, freaking Vigland.
Vientikis, yeah, on shows like Springer, the audience was very much like the customer being sold a feeling of moral superiority. Well,
That
of
was the
course.
whole point
That
of the
was
show.
the whole point of the show. Yeah, exactly. Tonkin B, Platner situation, deep disappointment. Still think he's a man of integrity. See, we welcome all kinds here. Thank you for that.
I'm Graham Platner, and I would like to let you know, after a lot of soul searching, I would like to come out as a trans woman.
Exactly. Mark Pugliese, Russ, look how terrified Keats is of Marxism, Leninism. Yeah, I'm terrified.
Keats? Oh yeah.
I'm shaking in my boots. I
He's
said on the
quaking.
last show, I said, when you're ready for me, come hang me. Come get me. That's how terrified I am.
With the power behind that movement.
yeah. Judy Denmark, was Platner an inside job? Who the fuck in the party didn't see this coming? Who pushed him forward into the campaign? They had to know this shit would hit the fan, the poor damaged bastard. Well, we showed you the vetters. I mean, the vetting team was like out of a teen comedy. It was like out of Superbad. He himself, I guess, maybe he didn't think he was going to get this far.
Playlist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I should call this episode, actually. Should be a good name for the Spotify. But yeah, I mean, that maybe he didn't think that he would get this far. Who knows? I mean, that's the really baffling thing is how could you get into this not knowing this was all going to come to light? Because guilty, not guilty, whatever, clearly the guy was a mess. Clearly the guy's got baggage that's going to be political fodder. How he didn't know, I don't know. The Democrats just straight up rat fucked him. They timed the first release to try to sink him in the primary. And then when that didn't work, they timed this release to get him out in time to replace him. So the Democrats who were against Platner did all this on purpose. They weren't blindsided by any of this. They had this plan to nuke the campaign, and they had fallbacks. What he was thinking is the real question. And why they had those two fucking Beavis and Butthead there vetting the candidates, that is just from outer space. I mean, I don't know what kind of hiring process they go through in Maine, but apparently the job market can't be that tough out there. If you can get hired,
I guess
to
not.
vet a set of candidates.
You're close to there. You should move
Yeah,
up
exactly. That is some fucked up shit right there. All right, let's move right along, shall we?
All right, we call this piece Meta Do Better. All right. The chips are starting to fall with some of these social media companies. This is a great example of where the technology outstripped the law very quickly. TikTok reached a settlement in social media addiction lawsuit this week. Thousands of lawsuits have accused social media companies of intentionally designing addictive platforms that contribute to anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia, and other mental health challenges among young users. In March, Meta and YouTube were ordered to pay $6 million in damages to a 20-year-old woman after a California jury decided the platforms were designed to addict young users without concern for their well-being. Quote, "It's starting to show that juries are holding tech companies accountable for defective design of their product, said personal injury attorney Matt Dolman. You put a product out into the market and you market it towards children, you have an inherent duty to keep that platform safe. Matt says the defense for years has been Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act, which states that an internet platform is not responsible for content posted by a third party. He says this keeps message boards and platforms like X out of trouble since they act as conduits for users' posts. Quote, when the platform itself is effectively designed and meant to addict children with infinite scrolling and other algorithmic features meant to just addict and increase user engagement among children, now that makes them responsible, Dolman said. They have a duty to protect children. I thought that was important context for the lawsuit of Meta, the basic legal theory. Now, it seems to me that you can sue on those grounds without messing with 230 at all, right? Because you're not arguing about what's posted on the platform. You're arguing about the core design of the platform and the way it's designed to entrap kids into the ecosystem. But we'll get to that. All right. So Meta says U.S. states are seeking $1.4 trillion in restitution, which basically equals the entire value of the company. Now, to put it in context, this is one whistleblower who's now suing Meta currently for trying to suppress her memoir, arguing that she had agreed to certain non-disclosures as part of a settlement with the company. But this is Sarah Wynne Williams. I believe she worked in product development. I could be wrong about that.
One example is that Facebook was targeting 13 to 17-year-olds. It could identify when they were feeling worthless or helpless or like a failure. And they would take that information and share it with advertisers. One of the things about advertising is advertisers understand that when people don't feel good about themselves, it's often a good time to pitch a product. You know, people are more likely to buy something. And so what the company was doing was letting these advertisers know that these 13 to 17-year-olds were feeling depressed and saying, now's a really good time to serve them an advertisement. Or if a 13-year-old girl would delete a selfie, that's a really good time to try and sell her a beauty product. Or if a 13-year-old girl is...
So let me interrupt right there. Sure. If she deleted a selfie, then Facebook was in essence, or Meta, Instagram, they were in essence tracking her activity online.
Absolutely. That is taken as a signal and then shared with advertisers.
She was a director of public policy at Meta, to be clear. So here's another whistleblower. He was the former Facebook engineering director, Arturo Bejar. He claims that Meta is deliberately choosing not to protect youth from predators on the platform.
As a student, I oversaw extensive research to document the harm that teens are experiencing on Instagram. And once the data was ready and vetted with people all over the company, I presented it directly to the executive team with whom I used to work directly. So this is, I wasn't a random person coming up with concerns. And it turns out that they did know about teenagers getting unwanted advances, getting recommended pornographic but not explicit content, violent content, the kinds of things that we as parents worry about, and that they had chosen not to address it and continue to choose not to address it after I left.
All right. So I think there have been a lot of whistleblowers who have come out of Facebook with similar stories. It's no surprise that Mark Zuckerberg's an evil dude running an evil company with evil practices. So Meta Platforms, this is from Reuters. Meta Platforms said in a court filing on Monday that 4 states were seeking $1.4 trillion in penalties over accusations the company designed its Facebook and Instagram platforms to addict young users and misled the public about their safety. Meta put forward the figure in its response to the Attorney General's filings on how penalties should be calculated if the states prevail at trial. The number, which has not previously been disclosed and is close to Meta's market capitalization of around $1.5 trillion, comes ahead of an August trial in Oakland, California, over the claims brought by California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey against the company. Meta said the amount was unsupported by the evidence. Quote, a sanction of that size has no analog in the history of consumer protection enforcement, the company said in the filing. The plaintiff's outlandish calculations have no basis in fact or law, the company said in a statement, adding that it would continue to defend itself against the state's demands. A spokesperson for California Attorney General Rob Bonta said in a statement the lawsuit, quote, alleges Meta has prioritized profits over the safety of kids and fueled the mental health crisis we see impacting a generation of American children. The California Department of Justice looks forward to holding Meta fully accountable at trial in August. The state's filings are sealed, but at a court hearing in June, they said they were calculating the penalties by multiplying the number of violations by fine amounts set by state law. The number of violations is based on the estimated number of teens and young users affected by Meta's actions, the state said. 29 states have sued Meta in federal court, most of them alleging the company violated the federal Children's Online Privacy Protection Act by collecting data from children without proper parental consent. That sounds like pretty solid grounds, actually. And again, you don't need to touch Section 230 for that. The trial in August before U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers will address all claims brought under that law, plus the 4 states' allegations that the company violated their state laws protecting consumers by misleading them about the safety of their platforms. Meta has denied the allegations, saying the attorney generals have no evidence it misled consumers about its platform's alleged addictiveness because, quote, social media addiction is not an established psychiatric condition, and therefore statements that its platforms were not addictive could not be false. A further 4, I'm surprised the DSM manuals have not caught up with that yet. A further 14 states have brought claims under their own laws, which will be heard at a separate trial in February. Last month, Rogers rejected Meta's bid to cancel the trial, saying there remained factual disputes over whether its social media platforms were addictive, whether Meta falsely denied it designed them that way, and whether it partially directed the platforms at children. Meta, Snapchat, and that platform's parent Snap Inc., YouTube and its parent Alphabet Inc., and TikTok and its parent ByteDance face thousands of lawsuits in federal and state court over claims they knowingly designed their platforms to have features that addict children and teens, fueling a mental health crisis. States across the country have sued the companies, some as part of the case before Rogers, and others in their home state courts. New Mexico was the first to go to trial, and a jury awarded the state $375 million in March after finding the company had misled New Mexico consumers. A judge in New Mexico is currently weighing the second portion of the state's case, which seeks additional damages and a court order directing the company to make changes to its Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp platforms. Now, the Democrats are coming up right now with their answer to Project 2025, Project 2029. So far, it is a throwback to Clintonian school uniform kind of politics. These are very, very different times. And I think politically, it really shows you how the Democrats are unwilling to respond to the demands of the moment. That's a separate question. In this context, let's take a look at what they're proposing. The full agenda proposed by Project 2029 will be released next year, according to the group, the working group of Democrats. But last week, it released its first policy idea, an online child safety plan dubbed Kids Over Clicks. Citing growing feelings of loneliness and alienation among young people and the addictive pattern of social use by the time they finish middle school, the group suggested the introduction of new restrictions on social media for children under 16 and bell-to-bell cell phone bans in schools. Most notably, the group goes after tech companies, calling for lawmakers to narrow protections under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act that shield platforms from some liability. It wants to make clear that companies are not protected from lawsuits stemming from AI-generated content, paid ads, illegal content or activity. Well, that's the trick. Illegal content or activity is a very broad category. And you could easily start to bring in, well, this is promoting terrorism, this is promoting violence. You could once you have a vague standard like that, Section 230 becomes meaningless. New rules should be created to regulate the use of AI chatbots in general, the group argues, clarifying and reinforcing users' privacy protections. Okay, all right. So there's a lot going on here. I've said this before. I will say it again. Are they going to use protection of children as a backdoor way to eliminate anonymity online? Yes. However, the argument that some make, most notably and visibly, I think Taylor Lorenz, that there's no problem here, that it's simply mass hysteria. It's just triggering panic around protecting kids in order to push through an agenda. It is that, but it's also a valid concern. And any attempt that you want to make to address privacy concerns cannot be couched in the idea that this is not damaging to children. No reasonable or serious person believes that social media and smartphone use is not damaging to children. You get an explosion. As soon as the iPhone is introduced, you get an explosion in manic depression, self-harm, self-deletion attempts among tweens and teens. What is that? Yes, that's correlation, but do we really believe that that's not connected? Just common sense. It's not healthy for adults. Do you feel healthy when you spend a couple of hours on social media? Do you come out of that feeling like $1 million? Okay, so 13-year-olds, obviously, it is not good for them. However, yes, it is very dangerous the way that our political class is going to use that issue to try to eliminate the protections of Section 230, and with it, speech that they don't like. Absolutely. Both things are true. I think the challenge is to find an approach that addresses both. I think if you try to predicate the argument against what the Democrats are trying to do on the idea that, no, Facebook, that's great for kids, you're going to sound like a moron, and you're going to have absolutely no leverage. Aside from the general question of what smartphones and social media are literally doing to brain development, you have many whistleblowers have come out of Facebook in particular talking about how they have intentionally designed the platform to be addictive. I don't think it's a good place, if you're trying to protect Section 230, to be defending predatory practices of a corporation that has clearly been trying to addict kids and gone out of its way not to protect them from some of the dark underbelly of what goes on their platform. So these lawsuits have been a long time coming. So far, the indication is that they're going to be successful because the evidence is there that they knew the product was dangerous to kids. And that wasn't a bug, that was a feature. And they just kept going forward with that model. And yeah, they're going to wind up paying out a lot of money. There is going to be legislation in response to this. If you want to help to direct this conversation in a way that protects 230, you cannot argue this is not damaging to kids. It is. You have to start from that and then figure out how you would protect the statute while at the same time protecting kids. I have long said I don't disagree with keeping this away from kids until they're 16. Of course, the trick is how do you do that without compromising everyone's anonymity? I don't have an answer to that, but I think you have to think in those terms. This is kind of unrelated, but regulating chatbots, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, this is something that got way out ahead of the law. Do you like going online and not knowing if you're dealing with a real person? Like, absolutely. I think just like advertising, you should have to disclose if that's not a real person. If that's a bot, it should be labeled. I think the danger, especially for a lot of the left who are rightly skeptical of government efforts to regulate the internet, is going to be to support reasonable legislation and to acknowledge and to not pretend there's not a problem here in order to argue against legislation, while at the same time trying to protect online privacy. And again, I don't have an answer to that, but I think that's the approach you have to take. And too much of the approach so far has been there's nothing to see here. The government should stay out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable. I mean, I do think, unfortunately, the way these policies are often presented are in sort of toxic package deals, where in order to
Right.
get the one thing that seems reasonable, you have to sign on to the 5 other things that you
Yes.
don't like.
Yeah.
So there's an element of that here. Although I have to say, even as far as a social media ban for kids, like, what is the enforcement mechanism? What are the specifics of that? What are the penalties for violating that? Like, I'm very hesitant to, sign on to, a list of more shit we're not allowed to do. That's my libertarian streak.
I hear
like,
ya.
don't tell me I'm not
I
allowed
hear
to
ya.
do something. Like, let parents fucking keep the phone away from their kids. Like, do your fucking job. Be a parent. I got 3 kids.
Well, what
My
about
job-
bell to bell in schools? I don't
Yeah.
see anything objectionable about that.
I mean, the thing about that,
You're
that's
not
kinda
allowed to sit there
better-
and play a video game in school, right?
thing
You're
of-
not allowed to write notes in class. Like, why should you be allowed to use a cell phone?
I mean, maybe they have the schools impose certain rules. I don't
mean
know what
I
the-
mean that's easier because you're
Yeah.
not talking about having to legislate technology nationwide and see. You just say you can't use a cell phone in school. You can see
Right.
if a kid's using a cell phone.
Right, yeah. Maybe you're allowed to have one on your person in case of an emergency, but you can't take it out or whatever, or something like that.
Right. Right.
There's a lot of nuance there, but I mean, look, it's bad for adults, much less kids. Like, it's terrible
Yes.
for adults.
Right.
It's terrible for
Well,
me. I
that's
can
what-
tell
that's
you,
what I'm
I can tell
saying.
you firsthand, it's bad for me. Like, the only reason I do it is because I have to do it. But like, my kids tell me 5 times a day, "Daddy, why are you looking at your phone? Pay attention to me." And I feel bad because I don't mean to ignore them, but this is my job. I have to stay on top of the
Right.
news so that I can do
Right.
this. So it's terrible for a grown man. Okay. If it's terrible for me, it's terrible for kids. I don't doubt that at all. Do I want the government imposing penalties on parents who let their kids have a phone? No, not necessarily. I don't want more rules I have to follow. I just don't. I mean, that's the libertarian streak in me coming out. I don't want the state ordering me around like that. But yes, there's room for nuance here, and I think that, there's got to be some kind of solution, because obviously the status quo is undesirable. as well. And obviously, I think it's good that this lawsuit is being brought. And I think not only should we make business as difficult as we can within the bounds of the law, obviously, for these tech companies, but you also have to, and this is the other part of this that I agree with, which is unfortunate because it comes with a lot of other shit I don't agree with, is the regulation of AI. You have to just do what you can to rein in AI, because that, and people do not understand what an existential issue that is. They're not going to until it's too late. That's what's likely. But wherever you get an opportunity to say, no, actually, you can't just do that because it's easy. Like these are the openings that these tech companies look for. And before you know it, you're on camera every second of your life. You got robot dogs hunting you from parking lot to parking lot, so you have to take that very seriously. So yeah, there's things about this that I think are good. I do think online privacy is a huge deal. And they're clearly coming for that. Section 230, I mean, if Section 230 is fucked with to the extent that they want to, it could literally be difficult to impossible to even do this show. You know what I mean? Like, how could we work under that
any show like this?
Yeah,
any
yeah,
show.
yeah.
Like
Any show. Yeah, even the shitty shows would be hard to do.
Look what happened with Craigslist when they said they were going to hold platforms accountable for any kind of human trafficking. They had to just get rid of dating. They got rid of everything, and it actually kind of killed Craigslist because that was a lot of their traffic.
Right.
That's what these platforms will do. Like, once you introduce that kind of vagary, they're just going to get rid of anything more controversial than unboxing videos.
Right. Exactly. Because we are a total liability to them at that point. I mean, we're a liability to them now, but I think they don't want to take the branding hit of just doing away with political commentary on the internet. But if they are given a legal excuse to do that, of course they'll do that. Of course, that's why they're so draconian with the copyright bullshit. That's why, YouTube is all shoot first, ask questions later with a copyright claim. Because if you get a copyright request, they have to, by law, take it down. Because they don't have the manpower to litigate every case on a case-by-case basis. So they have to just honor that. And because YouTube is such a big platform, it's automated, right? People put content ID claims on for songs. They get the claim, they take it down. Now, Rumble apparently is under the same legal obligation. However, because Rumble's a smaller platform, they can manage things on a case-by-case basis and determine, hey, if you put in a bullshit claim, we're not just going to fucking bend the knee, right? But the bigger the platform, the more they have to operate in such a draconian fashion, because to be fair to YouTube, there is not the manpower to manage millions and millions of videos getting uploaded every single day. So the point is, when you make it easy for tech companies to do the least amount of work, that from an AI perspective is, of course, very dangerous. We're already seeing the results of that. But from a legal perspective, they're not going to want to deal with the hassle of litigating on a case-by-case basis who said what and whether that's allowed on the platform. That's why 230 is there. So the people who criticize 230, we have talked about Section 230, as have many other creators in this space for obvious reasons over the years. Our position is not that it should be undone, but rather that it should be upheld. Hey, if you get Section 230 protections, then you shouldn't be censoring on top of that, right? The goal is not to undo Section 230. It's to get the tech companies to live up to the bargain of Section 230 without extra pressure from the government. But if you take it away, now you're in an even worse situation, because now they are incentivized to just be like, you're gone.
Content, that's it.
You're done. You're gone. Lights out for everybody. They're not going to mess around with that because they don't have the bandwidth to manage copyright claims for 8-second clips of Rolling Stone songs. You think they're going to deal with fucking claims about unlawful content? No, they're going to turn the lights off on everything. Yeah. So that's a complicated story, but a good one. Complicated stories today. This is a tough day. All right. You want to read some super chats and some Rumble rants? I'll put up the scroll while we do that.
Sure.
All right.
Just in case, 7-6, please cover the Alex Jones versus Sneeko debate from yesterday. It was highly entertaining. Well, maybe you do that with Kurt.
Yeah, we
Kurt
covered the
Kurt would
Sneeko
be
thing.
good to do that with.
But yeah, they debated. Yeah, that might be fun.
Vianticus Prime, emotion sells, not facts. You got that right. Nathan Pop, remember what Kurt said. These are Disney adults. Yeah.
Like, what are you bothering Sneeko for? Especially if you're Alex Jones. Like, the kid talks shit on the internet. What, you don't make a living talking shit on the internet? What, you never trolled on the internet?
Don't eat out of my dish, kid.
Yeah, come on.
Mark Pugliese, remember when they made Ryan Grimm look like the autopilot from the movie Airplane? Do you guys remember what that was about? I personally don't.
No, I don't. I don't have any recollection of that at all.
Dmitry Mugianis. I prefer comrades as opposed to allies. Comrade Dino have to like you, have anything in common except class struggle. Solidarity from Harlem. Hells yeah, man. You live in Harlem, you run into me sooner or later. EO Shush. They had a bunch of chuds in the red state of Maine calling for Medicare for all, no wars, and not funding Israel's genocide. These idiots blew it. Mamdani doesn't work in Maine.
Yeah. We'll see who they pick. See what they come up with.
I hear Stephen King might get in. Raven Laz. RFK Jr. hearing the voice of the guy who vetted Platner. Well, that's for you, man.
My brother in Felch.
Noah Goop. Okay, but isn't the more important question about Platner what his stance on COVID lockdowns was? Well, some people.
It's funny you mention that because this guy the Indian guy apparently was very, very strict lockdown guy.
Was it?
The Indian guy, yeah, the Shah.
I would imagine that didn't play well in Maine.
No, they seem kind of ornery there.
Kind of like New Hampshire, libertarian-ish.
It's kind of exactly. The live free or die state.
Professor Brown note, couple guests suggest Gabriel Rockhill book out should be in line with much of what Russ talks about, the controlled left. Indeed, the last segment, Quinn Slobodian, Musk, AI, etc. Right now, next week I'm full up. And then the following 2 weeks, I have room for a second guest. Right? Yeah. Michael Castillo. Russell, you always forget my Chank sound drop.
Oh, that's right.
It's
That's
not
right.
just me, man. There's two of us here, you know.
Two of us here, yeah.
You want to find it while I'm doing this?
Well, I can't because it'll kick me out of StreamYard.
Right.
So here, you
okay.
find it and I'll start reading.
All right. Yeah. Why don't we do that?
All right. Norkdo says, can you please add more funny in the Jimmy hosting? More funny. It's a good request. I like that. Like we're indentured servants. More laughs, please, and be more entertaining. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Not entertained? We do the best we can over here. Hey, I thought of a funny joke. I'll give you this joke because you asked for more funny. Maybe I should save this for Jimmy. But I thought this is a funny joke. This is a cute joke. This is an apolitical joke. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Why?
To follow in the footsteps of the world's most famous chicken. Get it?
I don't think I got it. No.
The famous chicken is the one who crossed the road. That's the one who's in all the jokes. So why did the chicken cross the road? He wanted to follow in the footsteps of the world's most famous chicken.
All right. Yeah, it's a terrible joke. It's awful.
Blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser? Blasphemy against... No.
There you go. You got your sound drop.
Joke. I thought that was a cute joke.
I thought that was awful.
Yeah, he didn't like it. He didn't like it. Maybe it's good I didn't do it on the Jimmy Dore show. Maybe it's good I keep that one here. I don't know. What's the chat think? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what people think of that joke.
What did Saul Moskowitz say when Ida Moskowitz asked him to go down on her?
I know this when you told us before. Go ahead.
I could eat.
Yeah, see, that's a good joke. That's a good joke. Worst joke of the week. Yeah, not bad. That's good for Jimmy's show. That was fucking terrible. Yeah. Shake my head. Yeah, all right. So apparently people didn't like it. All right, I got to workshop it a little more.
Yeah.
I got to workshop it a little more. All right. Right. Let's see. Where was this energy for Joe Biden when Tara Reid had credible accusations and got smeared? Well, that's the other part of it is that, the other thing you got to anticipate with your Graham Platner is, the media is going to help the pile on a lot more when you take the positions that you take. Noah Goop says Emma Viglin's favorite Star Wars is The Acolyte. That's one that Russ.
Is that true? Is that true? I like that. Would not surprise me.
Tomatoes emojis, I like that. Tomato emojis in the chat for the bad joke. The Dana Carvey show. We should release that. We should drop that as a short just to see what the reaction is with the explanation.
It was so bad I didn't get it because I think my mind recoiled from the logic of it.
The Dana Carvey show did a skit called Skinheads of Maine back in the 90s. It holds up. Thank you, Shady Deals. Appreciate that. What do we got here? El Kaminsky. Russ, for my birthday today, I ask you to read Who Paid the Pipers of Western Marxism by Gabriel Rockhill. Best research analysis of the PSYOP you often refer to. CIA left will be a great guest. Gabriel Rockhill. All right. Well, happy birthday. We should come up with a birthday sound drop so if people announce their birthday.
Hey man, I wanted to use the Beatles thing, but you said that they are like draconian about copyright on the Beatles.
They're brutal.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense.
You can't find that
because I never see anyone use.
Yeah, they're completely brutal.
You know what I just got? It was ridiculous, man. From part one of my Me Lie videos, I just got like a copyright claim. Like it doesn't matter. It's not a strike. I'm like, I used like 5 seconds of an obscure Vietnam era song.
Wow.
And it got claimed out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Wow.
After like I put that up months ago.
Norkdo, raise your hand if you bought Joy Reid OBO Bernie. What do you mean? What does that mean, OBO? I don't know what that means. But I think Russell mentioned her treatment of the Bernie people. Them should nominate Shah Reza Pahlavi to replace Grant. Yeah, exactly. Great. That would be pretty funny. They should send Platner to Kentucky to run for McConnell's seat. As Kentucky goes, so goes the nation. Ace Hawk, can a candidate take AIPAC money only to denounce Israel genocide and vote against them? I mean, at this point, like, no. I mean, I would say no. I mean, at this point, that is a huge red line at this point. Like if you're 70 years old and you took AIPAC money like 20 years ago and you've sworn off it and now you're calling it a genocide, I mean, maybe, but even that's questionable, but nowadays, no, you can't take any AIPAC money for sure. Mark Pugliese, look, the Dem Party has been ruled a corporation that can choose whoever they want. Why would anybody even be in a party like that? Well, that's singing our tune there. Noah Goop, I feel like this whole Platner situation is going to end with a highway chase like OJ. Yeah, Maine Democratic Party top donors Reid Hoffman, Haim Sabin, and David Ellison. Thank you. It appears Army Hammer disavowed citizen vigilante. Yeah, that's what this is saying now. That's a good story. I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be fun to do with Kurt.
Yeah. Spike Spiegel, I posted last night about Army Hammer disowning this new flick. Lots of articles confirming it. All right, here we go. Hey, Jose Vegas here says, my days of grape are over. I will now run for public office. I will now seek public office. I will now run for the Senate. Nocturnal Human, I sympathize with Army. I was once tricked into playing Hitler in a movie. I thought it was a documentary on Charlie Chaplin if he was a German painter. That's good.
That was a good one.
It's a good one.
You got me with that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I mean, how the hell? Who knows?
No. I could kind of see it if you thought the character was supposed to be like a villain.
Yeah.
Like this was like a dark kind of taxi driver kind of thing.
Right.
Of like a fucked up guy who goes on this rampage. Like I could see how you could get sold. that pitch, because the things he does, that's part of what I said in my segment about it. Like, the character, the more you find out about him, the worse he is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing that people, so-called conservatives, would embrace this character as a hero.
Yeah, he may have thought, like, I just thought there was no way possible that this guy could be interpreted as a protagonist, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Kenman G, plot twist, the guy who keeps giving you $5 and being an asshole on Rumble Rants is like, good one. Vienticus, come to this show for information. I thought we were coming here for the bacon. Damn my aging years. Thanks, Vienticus Prime. Appreciate that. EO Shush says, I think they told him, and the statute of limitations hasn't run out. Stay in and we press charges, drop out, and we don't file. Who knows, man? Who knows?
I think what he was saying was the deal, like that they were going to cut him off from money, from voter file access. Like, how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Like
I think they put him in a situation where he couldn't run the campaign anymore.
Right. Exactly. Does Ryan Grimm dye his hair, or is that a wig? Yeah, it looks like it's. I mean, I don't know. Does hair? I mean, my sideburns are a little gray, but it looks very stark. Like the top of his head is like brown, and then those sideburns are gray.
So it happens with some people like that.
It happens. Cool Blue. New U.S. political party, the shut-in party. Yes,
that's where it's going.
That's right. All right, let's move right on along here. All right, folks, this is a simpler story than what we've been doing, but a terrible one. We're talking a little bit about the World Cup. So the Egyptian head coach, Hassam Hassan, brought a Palestine flag onto the pitch after Egypt's historic victory over Australia. This was last week.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
And that was after their victory, and this coach has, of course, been outspoken about Palestine and about Gaza. Egypt's coach, Hassam Hassan, delivers a heartfelt message of solidarity with Palestine. So this was after the win versus Austria.
الأخيرة
The last match carried the Palestinian flag.
حملت راية فلسطين. هل تشاركنا
Do you share your feelings at
مشاعرك
this
في
moment?
هذه
Will you
اللحظة؟
repeat it?
وهل ستكررها مرة أخرى غدا إن تفوقتم على
Again
الأرجنتين؟
tomorrow if you beat Argentina, and welcomes all the Turkish
بالشعب
people.
التركي كله.
Everyone has
كل واحد
feelings.
ليه مشاعر وكل واحد إذا وجد فرد في العالم
And if there is anyone in the world who doesn't feel
بالشعب الفلسطيني
for the Palestinian people, then they are not human. They are not human, whoever they may be, whether Arab, European, American, or anything else. And he has more comments on this, which we'll get to later. But just talk about just absolute gangsterism and evil in broad daylight. The Egyptian Relief Committee in Gaza has been organizing public screenings of World Cup matches for displaced families across the Strip. About an hour before today's Egypt-Argentina match, Israel killed the committee's public relations director in a strike on his vehicle. 2 others, including a child, were also killed. So this is the full tweet here.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the full tweet here from Drop Site News, bringing us this reporting here, which, again, now you have a faction of the progressive movement canceling their subscriptions to Drop Site because Ryan Grimm posted a political text, right?
You know what that's what you call serious political engagement.
Yeah, that's serious engagement, right.
Yeah.
Breaking, Israel has killed Mohammed Fawaz al-Wahidi, director of public relations for the Egyptian Committee in Gaza, Tuesday evening in a strike on a civilian vehicle near the governorate building in Gaza City's Al-Sabra neighborhood, per the Palestinian Information Center. 2 other Palestinians, including a child, were killed alongside him and others wounded, per Arab Post, bringing the day's death toll from Israeli attacks across Gaza to 6 amid ongoing violations of the ceasefire. The Egyptian Committee, established by President Sisi, is Cairo's official relief arm in Gaza, distributing food, housing displaced families in camps it built at Netzarim, and clearing rubble. Israel has killed its personnel before. In January, an Israeli drone struck a vehicle carrying committee workers filming a new displacement camp near Netzarim, killing 5 people, including 3 journalists working for the committee. Israeli media reported Cairo sent an angry protest demanding explanations for that attack. The targeted strike and killing of an official of Egypt's own relief operation comes as Cairo hosts negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, with a Hamas delegation in its 6th day of talks there. Reports suggest the strike took place just before the Egypt-Argentina Soccer World Cup match. So you have the coach waves a Palestinian flag, and then in what seems like a very obvious act of retaliation for that, they kill the guy who's organizing these watch parties for people in Gaza to watch the World Cup, to get a little relief from the horrors of daily life. Again, just unthinkable gangsterism in broad daylight. These are allies of ours, folks. So here's Bassem Youssef reacting to this and providing some non-commentary on the game itself, the Egypt versus Argentina match, which obviously is trivial by comparison, but we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, just to show you how one-sided every institution on earth seems to be on this issue. So here's Bassem Youssef.
Game or the officiating or the penalty. So I'm not going to talk about the game or the officiating or the penalties or Messi or Argentina or anything. You guys remember all of these kids watching the Egyptian games in Gaza? These were watch parties that were organized by a member of the Egyptian committee in Gaza, the Aid Committee in Gaza. His name was Fawaz al-Wahidi. And this guy was killed by Israel in a raid 3 minutes after the beginning of the game between Egypt and Argentina. Just like that. There's no Hamas, there is nothing, but this is what Israel does every day. Just kill people. And we just lost count and we forgot, was it Hamas? Were there some sort of a base or rockets behind him, so they had to kill him, collateral damage? Oh my God, what can we do? It just become very repetitive. Yeah. Just another horrible thing that Israel does. Enjoy.
Yeah, now, to add insult to injury, and again, this all seems very superficial compared to the murder of this man. But of course, Argentina is a pro-Israel country, and so this match was sort of perceived as a proxy match between Israel and Palestine, if you will. So talk about classless pieces of shit. Apparently, Zionists, whether they're Israeli or Argentinian, have the same level of human decency here. After the final whistle of Argentina's win over Egypt, Argentina fans waved an Israeli flag near the Egyptian coaching staff. Don't forget, they didn't play Israel, they played Argentina. So they don't go and wave Argentina's flag in front of Egypt. They wave the Israeli flag in front of the Egyptian coach. Argentina fans appeared to wave an Israeli flag at Egypt's coach. Sorry, I'm going to read some subtitles, so I'll lower this. Earlier in the game, Hassam Hassan made an X sign with his arms, FIFA's signal for reporting racist abuse. Under FIFA rules, once the signal is made, referees are required to stop the match. If abuse continues, the match is suspended. If the situation cannot be controlled, the game is abandoned. None of those procedures were initiated. Instead, referee Francois Letexier interpreted Hassan's gesture as dissent and showed him a yellow card. Yeah, in the final minutes of this game, there were, I think, 4 yellow cards issued against Egypt because of the refereeing. Egypt was up 2-0, which is a seemingly insurmountable lead. And then with, I think, 11 or 12 minutes left, Argentina scored 3, and they ended up winning.
So is this Argentina switched from the original flavor Nazis to the Jewish flavored Nazis?
I guess so. I guess so. Egypt has not commented on why Hassan made the gesture. Throughout the match, Egypt's coaching staff grew increasingly frustrated with the referee's decisions. Egypt's Football Federation has filed a complaint with FIFA calling for an investigation. Yeah, I didn't watch the game because, of course, I don't watch soccer. But the refereeing of this game was a point of criticism across the board. Now, unfortunately, FIFA World Cup footage, if I had to guess, is probably copyrighted by about 6 or 7 different entities, so I can't show you any of that footage. But yeah, I mean, there were so many non-calls on the Argentinians. I mean, pushing, kicking, fouling, all the, no whistles. And of course, Egypt, most controversially, had a goal disallowed, which in soccer, every goal you score increases your chance of victory by anywhere from like 10 to 60% because there's such a low scoring game.
Right.
So to have a goal taken back is just massive. So Egypt complains officials were biased in World Cup loss to Argentina. The Egyptian Football Association said Wednesday it cannot remain silent after what it believes was unfair and biased officiating in Egypt's 3-2 round of 16 loss against Argentina on Tuesday. Egypt coach Hassam Hassan and several players criticized the officiating after being left in disbelief as Argentina scored 3 unanswered goals in 13 minutes to pull off one of the biggest comebacks in World Cup history. The EFA said the referee failed to use the video assistant referee system appropriately, leading to the loss to Argentina. Egypt appeared to have netted its second goal in the 58th minute, which would have put them up 2-0. They eventually went up 2-0, but that would have been 3-0 if this goal had counted. But a VAR, video assistant referee review, determined that Marwan Adia had fouled Argentina defender Lisandro Martinez early in the build-up to the goal. If a foul is identified in the build-up and is deemed to have had an impact on the goal, the VAR will recommend an on-field review, Kalina said. There is no defined limit regarding either the distance from the goal or the amount of time between the incident and the goal. He said in the disputed case, Adia clearly treads on the foot of Argentina number 6, Lisandro Martinez. So they basically didn't catch the foul in real time. They went to the video and found the foul after the second goal was scored. Now, I didn't watch the game. I can't tell you. I'm not a soccer fan or a soccer expert. Far from a soccer expert. I'm not even a soccer fan. So I couldn't tell you the specifics of that. What I can tell you is if they didn't catch the foul in real time and they went to the video looking for a foul after the second goal was scored, yeah, that definitely seems suspicious to me. Since once you go up 2-0 in a soccer game, I think your chances of winning are about 90%. So kind of makes sense to me that once they realized that, they may have gone to the tape and figured out if they could pull it back, and they did. We believe that a foul is a foul, Kalina added, regardless of whether the foul appears obvious. If the referee did not see it on the field of play, the VAR can intervene. Mostafa Zico netted later to give Egypt a 2-0 lead, but all momentum shifted onto Argentina's side when Lionel Messi assisted Christian Romero in the 79th minute, the first of 3 consecutive goals. Zoran Mandani, who is, of course, the ultimate authority on all of this, says that Egypt was robbed. And so if he says it, it is so.
Now, if you take the bus to work, that adds up fast. Within 6 months, you will have spent 24 fewer hours on the bus. By the time a year rolls around, you'll have saved more than 2 days of commuting time. That means breakfast with your family. It means having the time to argue balls and strikes at your kid's Little League game. It means getting home for bedtime. It means agreeing with your friends that Egypt were robbed yesterday. Above all, it means time returned to New Yorkers who don't have nearly enough of it. And
that's right. He says Egypt was robbed. That means Egypt was robbed. End of conversation. That's how life is in Zoran's New York.
That's it. It's communism.
That's right. That's Islamo-communism. Those are the rules. We didn't make them. We just follow them. They're being killed and you're staying silent. So here is the Egyptian coach after the loss to Argentina.
الأرجنتين وبيلبسوا بتاعت برشلونة.
Sorry, I'll read along here. Okay. In the country, they wear Argentina jerseys, Barcelona jerseys, Manchester City jerseys, Real Madrid jerseys. The ones you see these people, they love you, they love football, but they're being killed and you're staying silent and acting like, oops, do you feel anything?
Like it's normal. Do you
like
feel
it's normal.
anything?
Got it. Like it's normal. Do you feel anything? Do you feel anything? Football and the media, sports and players should support specific humanitarian cause. Yeah. And just for a little added intrigue here, FBI reportedly investigating Argentina's Football Association's U.S. financial activity. Federal prosecutors are examining how at least $260 million tied to the Argentina Football Association deals moved through the United States banks. So is there a little bit of a thumb on the scale there for Argentina? Hey, Donald Trump got them to, take back the red card against the U.S. player. Netanyahu, just apparently while we were on the air, says he's rooting for Argentina because of Javier Milei. So obviously, look, whatever rigging of the game took place, certainly suspicious to me. A minor story compared to the murder of the PR worker there. But it just shows you. I mean, we know FIFA's a scumbag organization. We know they're a corrupt organization. We saw their AI video and their plans for post-war Gaza. I mean, it's just a sociopathic institution. If they're pulling the strings for anybody, it's for Argentina, who's in the good graces of the Israeli regime, who just committed just a blatant, heinous act of murder for the pettiest reason imaginable, that the coach put up a Palestinian flag. So you attack the guy who's organizing the World Cup watch party. I mean, it's you couldn't write that in Citizen Vigilante. Like it's too ridiculous to write fiction about when that seems to be what happened.
Yeah, well, one, and I don't mean this in any way as an insult to the Argentinian people. Certainly, as an American, I'm in no position to judge a people by its government. But what the fuck with Argentina?
Yeah,
it's the refuge for the German Nazis, and now it's the supporter of the Israeli Nazis. Why do all the governments of Argentina like to chill with Nazis? I don't get it. I don't understand, because it seems like just an alignment with the worst fascist authoritarians on earth is kind of like the jam for Argentinian governments. I don't understand why that would be. Like, why Argentina in particular?
Right.
I really, if someone has an answer, I'm very curious. Our email, dudissidents@gmail.com. Please tell me, like, why does Argentina always align with the worst fascist actors on earth? Yeah. But that aside, all right, so Israel's knocked out, I guess.
They didn't qualify. They didn't make the tournament.
They're not even.
They're losers.
That makes sense, because there would have been a lot of video of them getting booed and protested.
Oh yeah, of course.
If they had made the tournament.
Yeah.
Now that aside, yeah, I don't think we've ever quite seen anything like Israel, where you've got this kind of client state that has absolute impunity to do anything it wants, that has all of the most modern weapons because those are supplied by us, is surrounded by countries that really can't compete with the military technology that it gets from us. You combine that with this just incredible mythology that the whole culture is built around, this myth that these white Europeans are from the land they invaded in some distant past and have a right to it, and lacking any real culture of their own that's indigenous to that place, just stealing the culture of the Arabs in their diet and their music, just stealing the surrounding cultures, practices, and then just having the absolute conviction that they are the ultimate victims, and anyone who says otherwise is a Nazi. There's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. I don't know of any country that would do something like that. Oh, the team waved a flag. Let's kill this guy who's organizing a watch party for displaced refugees. Like, I don't know of any established functioning state that would do that. Like, yeah, the RSF in Sudan might do that. They're not a government. They're not a functioning state. Like, I don't know a state with like a seat in the UN that would do something like that other than Israel.
Yeah, I called it gangsterism. It's beyond gangsterism. Like, even the mafia wouldn't do that because they'd see no point in doing that. You know what I mean? Like, even organized crime units, kill when it's in their interest. Like, this is just completely gratuitous and performative.
Impunity.
You know what I
man.
mean? It's
Impunity.
just what comes with impunity, right? It's the old saying, cruelty is the point. Yeah, cruelty is the point, right? There's no strategic benefit beyond that, beyond just showing that you are untouchable, and that's what they feel like they are able to do. I don't know if news broke of that, but for the people who are at the game, but yeah, you got these fucking people at the game. You're there to root for Argentina, and you wave an Israeli flag at the guy. Like, what kind of fucking simp are you? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's something very weird going on over there that I am way too ignorant of the history of the region to understand.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move right on along here. You want to take some chats and rants over there?
Sure. Mr. Measy, the left is so worthless here in Washington State. We have flock everywhere, and every politician is bright red on APAC tracker. Bunch of worthless Reddit mouth breather Tumblr cock. I like that. That would be a good song lyric, man. Like, if you wanted to do like an Andrew Lloyd Webber style operatic musical about the left.
Reddit mouth
worthless
breather,
Reddit mouth breather Tumblr cock.
Yeah. Like Bohemian Rhapsody kind of sounds. Like. Yeah.
That's pretty good. The plant rocker. Please say son of a Mitch McConnell in best Alex Jones voice possible. Son of a Mitch McConnell.
Son of a Mitch McConnell.
Joe H. Ashamed to say, I used to listen to Klinsky. Please go easy on me. We all did, man. We used to back in the day, back in the Bernie days. We used to listen to Klinsky. Darius King. It looks like Trump is turning his eyes back to the Europeans, telling them to pay up, or else he's giving them mafia-style pressure. You almost feel sorry for them. Well, I know he was doing that with Spain.
Yeah. Scott, tell no more trade with Spain.
I mean, honestly, that is, if there's any place in Spain I would in Europe I would expat to, it's Spain. But they're too vulnerable to the whims of the EU and the whims of the US. Just because they have a base government right now doesn't mean it's going to be that way in a year or 2 years.
Right. Also, if too many immigrants pour in, they'll have the same problem that everybody else has when too many immigrants come in. They'll say fuck the immigrants, and then you'll be screwed.
And before you know it, you're dealing with Tommy Robinsonino. Marianne Cummings. Facebook bad, but what is Dems Project 29? Medicare for all, living wage, federal housing guarantee, abolish ICE, forgive debt. No, it's digital ID for us peasants. Yes, absolutely. That was the side of it I discussed with Professor Zankus on Jimmy's show yesterday. We didn't even get into the merits of the legislation, but that just wasn't the subject there. But yes, you're 100% right.
Zenkis was, I mean, he's a Columbia professor, so he's obviously a smart guy. But yeah,
Right.
I'd like to be as smart as that.
That would be nice, right?
That'd be nice in the next life, maybe.
Yeah. Viaticus Prime. You just need to add the words by law at the end of a sentence in 230. That's it. It pretty much fixes everything. Over my head, man. Ugly Old Broad says stuff. Dem/APAC / I might add, APAC wouldn't let Platner win without an ugly fight. He's not their idea of disabled or token veteran. He doesn't have clean disabilities. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they always have room for people who are going to kiss their asses. Nina Camp, prosecute Einstein predators would be a start protecting children. Einstein predators? What does that mean?
You mean Epstein predators?
Epstein.
Maybe you did that to get around the censors.
Right. Vianticus Prime, watching The Acolyte was like sitting in the DMV all day. I mean, you're talking about someone who, in all seriousness, vociferously argued that if women's sports couldn't accommodate trans people, they shouldn't exist. So that's definitely the kind of person who would virtue signal by claiming that The Acolyte was their favorite Star Wars. But it might have been a joke. It would not surprise me if it wasn't, though. All right, so want to go on to the last segment here?
Let's go on to the last segment. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
All right, let's rock and roll. So, as some of you might know who have been watching the show for a long time, I got a real thing about Scientology, man. In fact, even before HBO made a show of it, made a documentary of it, I already had this book going clear. It's probably the best comprehensive book if you want to understand the origins of Scientology and what it's about that I've seen. So when I was out guest hosting for Jimmy, back when I used to still fly out there, I went out and joined a protest outside the Scientology Center on Hollywood Boulevard. And 1 week later, they shut it down. So here's, in case you never saw that, there's a very short cut of it that I put up on my Russ on the Road channel. Here's a little bit of that intervention. Join the church? No? No? You don't want to give them all your money? I have been doing this on my own in New York. Nobody bothers because nobody will join in New York anyway. I used to always walk up, pull open the door, and yell, "Free Katie," but now she's free. Free Shelley! Free Shelley!
In a couple of hours, there'll be 50 people out there.
Aren't you afraid you're going to wind up crying to Leah Remini in a documentary?
It is a party out here today.
Another day, still closed. Stay closed.
Poor Tom.
Yeah.
Now, from what I understand, now it's reopened but closed to the public because too many of the protesters were like running in there and doing stunts. So it's like very limited operations. So it was never able to really reopen as a recruiting center as it was like one of their main centers at one time. So for those of you who don't know, the Rome of Scientology is Clearwater, Florida. That is where their holiest of holies are. That's where their headquarters are. That's where their main administrative centers are. That is the holy land for Scientologists, is Clearwater, Florida. And a lot of the locals really don't like having that distinction. So this is from the Wall Street Journal. Locals are clashing with Scientologists over the future of this Florida downtown. So this was some reporting on it from about a year ago. But it's kind of interesting because you see somebody here who was against letting Scientology take over one of the downtown streets before he was for it.
More questions, though, about their motives. We are in a horrible marriage that needs counseling. We would all agree with that.
That's how Clearwater City Councilor Mike Menino describes the city's relationship with the Church of Scientology and its latest fracture, the possible sale of South Garden Avenue between Court and Franklin Streets. The church wants to build an auditorium and a park right next to that and have the city close the street.
With 4,000 people going in and out of the hall and the park, you know, in the 21st century, you just are not going to have a public road right in between those two.
I think it's important to thank you for being here.
Council members say they've been begging the church to come to City Hall for years. The church says almost 10 of its buildings at least have permits for renovations in downtown, featured in a video they showed council Monday.
I just don't understand the significance that's being put on the videos simply because I think of them as a visual aid, supplemental tool. It also can be, in a way, misrepresentation to be attached to this agenda item.
My eagerness to initiate an active downtown may have clouded my judgment regarding trust in Scientology's plan. However, I find it difficult to trust them to execute this plan when they won't even share the complete plan openly.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. That's David Albritton, right? He's skeptical of their ability to do it. He's against the plan, right? He doesn't support it. In 2025, a city official made a contentious move, one that would alter the council's calculus on South Garden Avenue and amplify residents' angst about Scientology's influence. On November 16th, Councilman David Albritton, who had previously expressed skepticism of the church's proposal, emailed a letter to Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer asking him to offer advice on a legal question. Who actually owned the street, the city or the Church of Scientology? Uthmeyer has a local connection. In 2024, Patricia Dugan, a wealthy Florida Scientologist and a major donor to the church, gave $1 million to a political committee chaired by Uthmeyer, then chief of staff for Governor Ron DeSantis, according to campaign finance records. The church said it doesn't direct political contributions of parishioners. Oh, right. Sure, you know. Albritton sent the letter without consulting the city council or Clearwater's then attorney, who had already published a 30-page memorandum at the council's request outlining why the city, not the church, owned the street. The next morning, a Scientology representative went to City Hall seeking a copy of Albritton's letter to Uthmeyer, according to people familiar with the matter. The rest of the city council, meanwhile, didn't learn of the letter until several hours later via email, according to government records. 7 months later, in a June interview with the Journal, Albritton said the church had asked him to involve Uthmeyer in the street dispute. Scientology representatives had requested a meeting with him in November to ask how he planned to vote when they resubmitted their application for the street, Albritton said. The meeting at the church's Clearwater headquarters included David Miscavige, the church's top leader, he said. You want to talk about a guy who gives off bad vibes. His wife has not been seen in public for 19 years. That's why I yelled Free Shelley into Scientology. Literally, his wife has been disappeared from public view for 19 years. A lot of people who have left Scientology have claimed that he regularly just punches subordinates in the face, will just physically attack people in meetings. He is a real psychopathic piece of work by all accounts. Now, why would this councilman who was against it all of a sudden now be for it? And why would he be doing something that clearly he was directed to do by the Scientologist, although they deny it? That's very hard to believe that that was not at their direction. Well, here's probably the most famous person to escape from the cult of Scientology, Leah Remini, talking about their practice of fair game and what it is and what kinds of tactics they might use to get a guy like this, some small town city council member, to change his vote.
I heard you refer to something on the Aftermath, and congrats on the Emmy, by the way.
Thank you.
Called fair gaming. And I just want to break it down for people to explain what it is, because it's very disturbing.
Okay. Scientology has a department called the Office of Special Affairs, and this department is dedicated to seeking out anyone telling the truth about Scientology. And they have directives that they follow, policies and directives. So one of those policies is called fair game, and it basically says that anyone who is speaking out against Scientology is to be fair gamed. And that means to utterly destroy, to destroy utterly. Those are the words that are actually used in the policy.
Physically, mentally, everything?
All of the above, yes. And then under those fair game directives are what OSA calls OSA directives, which is many thousands of policies of how to go after governments, how to go after the police, how to, if you have somebody speaking out against Scientology, it says basically find out what the person seeks to protect and go after it. You can certainly cost them their job, if it's their reputation, their family. And so these directives have been in play since the inception of Scientology. When L. Ron Hubbard was running from the authorities, these policies started to emerge from Scientology. And there's policy on policy not changing. So all they know is to follow these directives. There's also something that says anything could be done to the person speaking out by a Scientologist in good standing, right? So somebody who's still in Scientology, with no repercussions to the person doing it. So it says lie, sue, whatever it says.
And as long as they're Scientologists in good standing,
nothing can happen.
They're fine.
They're being protected by Scientology. And so Scientology fair gamed the IRS into giving them tax exempt status. And the commissioner at the time just folded. They had filed, a dozen lawsuits against the IRS. They were going after their jobs. They were going through their garbage. They were following them. They were harassing them. They were digging into their past, because L. Ron Hubbard says anyone who attacks Scientology has crimes. And
They
so
should
they
create a
make
World Cup
those
team.
crimes true somehow. Do you know what I mean? They just know that's what the policy says, so don't give up. Keep attacking.
You watch.
Well, now, and there's why Max calls Zionist the Church of Ziontology, because anyone who has followed the Zionists, that is exactly what they live by, right? Fair game. So how did they get to this minor political figure in this town? Could be any of a dozen ways that she laid out there, but I would guarantee to you, with carrot or stick, they put pressure on this guy to get him to flip his position.
So it's like you're under occupation. It's like the town is a fucking occupied territory.
Yes, and actually the Wall Street Journal article gets into how it's got a beautiful white sand, pristine beach, but it doesn't thrive the way that neighboring towns like Tampa and Fort Lauderdale do. And obviously that's part of the reason. Like, if you know anything about Clearwater, would you want to take a vacation there?
Right.
You want to be around these freaks? No, people don't want to take a vacation in the heart of Scientology.
Yeah. No, you're gonna end up like those Midsommar guys.
The church denied suggesting that All Britons send a letter to the Attorney General. About 2 weeks after All Britons' outreach, Uthmeyer replied, "The church likely owned the land beneath the street." Oh, what a surprise. "And the city shouldn't require the church to pay fair market value for the street." Uthmeyer's letter departed from guidelines followed by several previous Florida attorneys general. Weighing in on the duties of a local governmental body should be avoided unless a majority of members requested it. Those guidelines appear to have been on the website of the Attorney General's office as late as November 2025, according to a journal review of the state's site's archives. They have since been removed. During the June City Council meeting, All Britons cited the Attorney General's opinion in his support of the street transfer. The council approved the ordinance in a 3-2 vote. Scientologists in the audience burst into cheers. The Save the Garden group vowed to fight on. They're gathering signatures for a petition to put the ordinance to a citywide referendum. They've also launched an initiative to change the city's charter to require voter approval to vacate certain roadways. The American Civil Liberties Union has advised them. That's interesting. Okay, so just a little bit about the post-vote movement that is formed for this signature drive.
Thousands of Scientologists cheered last night when City Council, by a vote of 3-2, approved giving South Garden Avenue to the church so it can build L. Ron Hubbard Hall.
We need young patriots to knock on doors.
Brooks Gibbs is the leader of Save the Garden, a citizen committee that tried but failed earlier this year to let voters decide.
Our City Council has passed an ordinance to vacate South Garden Avenue. According to our charter, if we don't like that ordinance, we have 90 days to do a referendum.
Now he says they'll try a different route, using a part of city code that says if 10% of registered city voters sign a petition in 90 days, it would also trigger a voter referendum at the next election.
We can't rely on our volunteers, which are mostly elderly, to be out there in the heat. So it's going to cost about $100,000 to put people on the streets.
While Gibbs posted a survey on the idea to Save the Garden's website.
There's people out here that are willing to fight, and if you guys are willing to join this cause, join it.
Tony Tello is working on a lawsuit to let a judge decide who owns the land under the street, the public or Scientology.
Right now, the city's saying that Scientology owns the street. I'm saying that the street belongs to the people.
A grassroots effort that's trying to grow. In Clearwater, Chris
Okay, and finally, Aaron Smith-Levin here. If you can help him out, help him out. Here he is promoting and advertising the website, savethegarden.org.
Sign that petition to take down Scientology and stop their takeover of downtown Clearwater. And if these corrupt officials at the city look at these signatures and they go, we don't think that signature looks quite enough like the signature on the voter registration, they will just throw it out and not even tell you they threw your signature out. We're going to be promoting the heck out of this for the next 69 days. People can donate anywhere in the world, and there's no limit to the donations. We're going to get these signatures one way or the other. We need at least 100 a day. You guys are doing great work. I'm going to do everything I can to help. We are at the Clearwater Public Library right near the intersection of Drew and 19. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 12 to 2 p.m. If you are a registered Clearwater voter, please come by the library and sign the petition to stop Scientology's takeover of downtown Clearwater.
Yeah, hey, I hope they win. It's pretty clear by the way they described this town in the Journal article that they probably would be a thriving destination if not for Scientology being there. Scientology has bought up 60 buildings downtown. They leave a lot of them empty because they have their own cultish purposes for what they want to do with these buildings. They want to build a worship hall for L. Ron Hubbard. It's a religious community, which is fine if you're not impacting the surrounding community, but they obviously are. You have all of these native residents who don't want to live in a deranged cult's mothership, who are forced to have to accommodate this organization that got into the town in the first place through very nefarious means. They, in 1975, through a front, they bought $3 million in property, and it didn't come out until later that Scientology was behind it, but then it was too late. There was a big citizen movement to get them out. But what can you do? The people who are trying to shut this down, I hope they're prepared for what they might have to deal with. Because by all accounts, yeah, you go after the Scientologists, man, you're going to see people following you around. It's going to be people going through your garbage. They're gonna fair game these people. But hey, God bless them, man. I hope they win this fight. Scientology, I think, like Mormonism, where looks like a lot of the Book of Mormon is plagiarized from other sources. Scientology was established by a bad science fiction writer. I harass Scientologists when I see them trying to recruit Although I will say they've lost a lot of momentum. I haven't seen them recruit in New York subways in a long time. But I would go up to them and I would say, this generation produced Heinlein, produced Herbert, produced Asimov. You idiots worship freaking L. Ron Hubbard.
Right.
L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, why don't you create a Dune cult or something? That would be kind of cool. How could you worship this guy? If you look at his whole Xenu premise, it is bad science fiction. He created a bad science fiction plot, and he got people to actually invest in it as a religion. Now, I am sure if you went back to the origins, if you could actually be there for the creation of the major world religions, they were also founded by con artists and crackpots. The New Testament is no more historically accurate than Scientology is. The idea that the Romans, one of the great bureaucratic states in history, had a census every 10 years where everyone had to go back to their hometown, but we have no records of it either. So in a lot of ways, these cults, sure, you could argue that cults are religions in embryonic form, but I'm not a fan of the religions either. So there's no hypocrisy, at least on my part. I think they're all kind of culty. When they're at an early stage of development like this, when they don't have confidence, they have a tendency to try to rule by the sword, whether it's the legal sword or the literal sword, in the case of the way they spread Christianity or Islam or many other religions. But yeah, I mean, you've got a cult trying to take over your town, and Scientology really doesn't even fit the definition of a religion. That's what Ramini was trying to get into there. They basically sued the IRS into giving them tax exempt status. They should not get tax exempt status. They do not function as a religion. They function as a tax scam. Like, even under the definition of religion, they don't fit it. So you're truly just talking about a crazy cult scam taking over your town. So good for them. I hope they're able to win this battle. Scientology, even on the wane, still has a lot of resources to bring to bear. And if you're just like a normal person living in Clearwater trying to organize against them, be careful.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it seems like they just throw money around, right? Because I don't know how
They
you
have
delineate a real
Ramini got
religion
into
from
this.
a fake religion, but exactly. Like,
No,
it just seems to be.
It's how much of the resources are going to the benefit of a religious organization, how much is going into private hands and salaries and real estate purchases. Ramini got into this a lot on her show, how Scientology is basically a real estate portfolio. That's really what it is, with about 20,000 members worldwide.
Right.
Like she said, they build all of these Scientology centers. If you go to them, there's nobody in them, and I can testify to that. There's a Harlem Scientology center. Who the fuck in Harlem is joining Scientology?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I've never seen anybody in
it's
there.
all about
man.
the property. Yeah,
It's all about having the property, and they use the tax exempt status as a shield against having to pay any property taxes on it, and they just keep taking the money that they rob from these poor people that they suck into this cult, and they buy more and more real estate. That's why they're able to continue with hardly any membership.
right. That's got to be it. That's got to be it, right? And they recruit wealthy members, right? Don't they? Don't they milk
do.
you for all this money when by the time you're in for tens of thousands of dollars or something?
Well, yeah, because if you want to get clear, you got to keep paying them.
Right. You got to keep paying them. Exactly. All right. We'll take some last chats and rants here. Before we do, it's just a quick word from Rumble Wallet. So, quick question. How much control do you actually have over your money? Because technology has changed a lot about the way that money works, and Rumble is now in on the action with Rumble Wallet. You could tip us, by the way, on our Rumble Wallet. There's a little logo, a wallet logo right under the screen. It's a great way to support the creator economy here on Rumble. It also takes all the complexity of the new economy and makes it super simple. You can choose Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, your debit card, or your bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you can even support your favorite creators like us right here on Rumble directly. Rumble ranting through the Rumble wallet is just as easy as the old-fashioned way, and the platform takes 0 fees, so it's a great way to go about supporting us here on Rumble. So to get started, scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download the Rumble wallet. From there, you can set your wallet up, tap buy, and you're in the game in just a few minutes. So scan the QR code on the screen right now or go to wallet.rumble.com. Okay, let's move right on along here. What do we got over here? We got how many likes we got in the chat? 867. That's enough for one of these. All right. Let's see. Joe H says watched Fail Safe for the first time recently. Very scary. Fail Safe for the first time. I haven't heard of that. Hey, you know what's great? You know what show I've been enjoying, and you know why I watched it? Well, partly because I like the original. Well, I like the remake, which I consider the original because it's of my time. But also, you want to support a based pro-Palestine actor, watch the Cape Fear series with Javier Bardem and Amy Adams.
Oh, is he in that?
It's fun. Yeah, he plays Max Cady. He plays the villain. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's a good role for him.
I like the movie. I like the Scorsese movie
I am
a
very
lot.
surprised they haven't blacklisted him.
Yeah, they haven't. They haven't. I like the Scorsese movie a lot, even though De Niro is kind of nonsensical as a Southern,
Yeah.
But
Hey now!
Yeah, but it's campy. It's a campy movie, so it's part of the fun. But no, this series, they really take it and they take the main plot and they expand it to a 10-episode series length. So the basic character names are the same and the basic premise is kind of the same, but there's a lot more plot. And so far it's good. And we're halfway through. So yeah, check that out and support Javier. Watch Fail Safe. Oh, sorry. Got that one already. Nork, nanny state motherhood issues is a distraction from Medicare for All. Well, yeah, that's how they use that. Nah, Army had to know he was the protagonist and what the movie was about. He delivered those lines and shot those scenes. Maybe he took the gig out of desperation, not anticipating the backlash. I don't know, man. Like, to come out and say that's a hate, like, yeah, I don't know. I have to read what he says. I mean, I can't comment on it. I would just be speculating.
Hey, should I bring the premiere back to like 320 or something? Can you even do that?
I think you can, yeah.
Is that you would have to put it in manually, right? Because it's in 15-minute increments on the menu.
Yeah, you can go and do that. That should be good. We'll be out of here in 7 minutes, I believe. All right, let's think some more chats and rants over here. Sorry, I'm just copying over the last of these. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. All right. Virtuoso. This morning I spoke with Mitch McConnell for 20 minutes, but most of that time was spent swatting flies and digging maggots out of his mouth and ears. Good one, Virtuoso. Mill Raven, is the internet more damaging to children than prior mass media? We boomers were programmed by TV commercials.
Yeah, I think so. Because it
so.
pervades your life in a way that TV just couldn't.
Especially
you couldn't walk
on the
around
phones.
with your TV all day.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think so. Kenman says, Keaton, I loved your chicken joke. It was the best iteration since Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road? Because he was on the left side and it was useless. Good one. Thank you. El Kaminsky, wondering how meta lawsuits are connected to the push for age verification and identity to use internet platform, mass surveillance in the guise of concern for children. Well, no, I think it is. I mean, and this is, this is how these politicians always operate. You always pair some good stuff with a bunch of bad stuff. That's how you sneak the bad stuff through. Why did Russ cross the road, says Ugly Old Broad says to get away from Keaton's joke. Ha! Borscht Belt's ghosts are traumatized. Ha! Good one. Eric Rousseau, go Norway, row, beat England. Is that the team to root for? Now it's what people are saying. The Platner Act allegations have caught me toten Kampf guard. Thank you, George Gunnell. Uncivil unrest. Argentina is the Michael Tracy of countries. Agreed, and social media harmful for children, but these people clearly don't care about children in any meaningful way. They care when it's convenient for them and their agenda. Agreed. Who had served as a military attaché in Mussolini's Italy viewed fascism as viable? Oh, did you? I don't think you put the first word in there. Love that joke, says Norco. Thanks, Norco. EO Shush, Israel bombing a watch party. They're almost as bad as Raider fans. Oof, Eric Cuso. Vientikis, U.S. Section 230, no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access or availability of material that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, and filthy. I'm sorry. What happened here? There it is. Sorry. Save you. Multi-parter there. Excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected. That last part is why you change. Oh, I see what you're saying. All right. Thanks, Vientikis. Appreciate that. Let's see here. We're going to keep on keeping on. Noah Goop says, the pressure Trump puts on NATO is always just to increase spending. People deluding themselves into thinking there's beef when he's quietly escalating the war. Well, yeah, of course. Of course. He made that pretty clear as soon as he got in again. I was kidding about Emma Vigeland. Haha. Maybe the joke was too
it was believable, honestly.
It was believable. Russell, you should take a trip to Argentina to give your views just as in Asia. Russell, you're a total badass. I'm bomb thrower on PBD to expose. I'm going over to PDD to expose their propaganda. Oh, you're gonna go troll them in their chat. There you go. That's fun. MP Killer BB90. If we get caught, they will replace us with people of the same cloth. Doesn't matter what you do. America's a golden calf. We will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off piece by piece. Tried to send previous message on YouTube, was blocked. Not surprising. Vientikis, people don't want to live under Sharia law, Scientology law. Yeah, that's worse than my chicken joke there. I got to tell you, Vientikis. I think you saved my chicken joke.
Pretty bad.
Bailed out my chicken joke there. Fun etymology time. Cult is the root word of culture. It's mostly had a neutral connotation throughout history. Thank you. Eric Cuso, who would join Scientology cult? There's no sex orgies. I'm not joining a cult without sex orgies. Thanks, Eric Cuso.
That's what you think.
Yeah, that's right. There is a church formed after Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land. See the Church of All Worlds.
Oh, is there?
Okay.
Maybe we could get the Scientologists to join that one.
Yeah, there you go. Bexers, there's only one thing worse. Boomenials, especially when moomers and bezeezers. That goes without saying. Good one. Andy Gardner, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that very much. And looks like last chat of the day is race car for $20. Thank you, man. Man, guys, I had a great pun, but YouTube is blocking it. We'll send it via Rumble on Sunday. Well, that's very generous of you to send us a chat, a donation like that when you don't even get to say what you wanted to say. So thank you for that, race car. Appreciate that very much. We appreciate all of you very much. I'm live on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. So catch me over there. Russ is off for a couple days. You will be, if you're watching on YouTube, redirected, yes, to Russ on the road for the premiere of his Rocky Horror video. So stay tuned. If you're watching on Rumble, you want to head on over, youtube.com/@ Russ on the Road NYC. Thanks, everybody.
I will be there hanging out in the chat.
There you go. He'll be there hanging out in the chat.
Come do the time warp with me.
There you go. There you go. Someone, one more came in. Adeptus, thanks for the $20. Every iPhone, Android, Mac, and Windows PC has advanced tools to regulate every aspect of your child's activity online. They are punishing everyone for the technological ignorance of the general population. Yep, I agree. Thank you, Adeptus. Appreciate that very much. All right. That's our show. Thanks, everybody, very much for being here. Thanks to the YouTubers and the Rumblers and to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. I'll see you on the Jimmy Dore Show with our friend Caleb Maupin tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you all again on this channel Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks again for hanging out with us this afternoon. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.